Good morning and welcome back to the Failure Stop Podcast, the number one show for police-related breakdowns. We are a live show today. We got people in the chats. I don't know what's been going on with the YouTube chats, but we're here and we see you. You just all come on at one time. Very strange. So I will get to the live chats. I'm just going to give it some time. Today's, there we go, popping in there. Today's case comes out of Fountain Valley, California. And it's a doozy, but I have a special guest with me today, and that's what makes this show extra fun today. I've got a civilian. I've got a real life civilian. I know that 99% of you guys that are listening are first responders in some form or fashion, but today I've got a real life civilian on here. And so we're going to go over a lot of questions. And this is fine. I think this is Josh, my producer in the background. Is this our first civilian that we've ever had on in 4 years?
I believe so, especially for the breakdowns. We've had other guests on for like last call and things like that, but for the breakdowns, I believe this is the first full-on like actual civilian. Because I can't remember if we've had Abby Ellsworth.
Anybody in the live chats, if you guys can remember the last time we had a civilian on, hit me up because I don't remember, but I think this might be the first civilian we've ever had on the show. So yes, I picked down a case that happened about 2 weeks ago out of Fountain Valley. Lots of breakdown. I know this is going to be like high energy for you guys because I know this is a touchy subject. It's kind of why I picked it today. I don't know. We'll see how this goes. This could be a triggering-ish episode, I would say. So here we go. I don't know. Josh, this is going to be a crazy, there's a lot to break down. There's a lot of things to talk about. Some things are going to be a little uncomfortable to talk about, but I think it's important because you can't fix a problem if you're not willing to admit that the problem exists. And now we have a civilian on here to kind of debate whether this problem does really, in fact, exist in law enforcement specifically, maybe even in firefighting specifically. So we'll get a real civilian perspective and maybe we can have a little debate about it. I'll look to the live chats and see what you guys have to say. Real quick, though, Tyler S., Folk Around and Find Out, Neichkin from across the ponds up in here. We got Mike Ducher, Santana Brother. We're not going to keep going up all day, but it's good to see you guys. I know that Folk Around, there you go, Folk Around and Find Out. Good to see you guys. And I'll talk to you guys probably towards the end of the show. Before I bring on my guest, my special guest, let's kick it off with an intro. Today's show brought to you by ghostbed.com/Wolfpack Sleep So Good It's Scary, and factormeals.com/Wolfpack50 OFF. That's a new promo code. Don't use the old one. It's now factormeals.com/Wolfpack. You have to add the 50 OFF for 50% off plus free shipping on your first order. Take us away, Joshua.
The growing calls across the nation to defund the police.
To end policing as we know it.
Off the charts violence in New York City. 11 people shot in just 8 hours on Sunday.
This is about the police officers who every single day put on that uniform and they run towards danger when we run away from it.
Guns up, giddy up. We got a lot on the Failure to Stop Podcast Network. Not just the show, but the network. We've got some new true crime out in the world. And our guest for today, her name is Allie, and she is not only an author, she's got a lot of cool stuff going on. I'll let her tell you what she's got going on. But we have a new true crime podcast that is doing extremely well. This is like one of those projects that I always wanted. It's called Santana True Crimes. You guys know that in the last 6 years, I have really dabbled very hard in true crime. I knew I wasn't the guy to do true crime. And so I brought in, who was it first? It was me and Mike the Cop first. And then we brought in, I can't even remember. And then we brought in, what was her name? Andrea to do Andrea Up Late True Crime. And we just never dialed it in, did we, Josh?
No, we had a couple issues.
But then I found Santana True Crime. Santana, my old training partner, who wanted to get into podcasting and who's actually knows what he's doing. And then I found Allie through Santana, and the two of them recently have teamed up. And of course, now we've got Abby Ellsworth from On Being a Police Officer. She's kind of teaming up too, and which is super fun. But now they're actually doing the true crime that I always wanted, because I've always loved listening to true crime podcasts. I just hate how the host get certain things wrong, and that's a really big deal to the case. And what I mean by that is, like, sometimes they'll put some blame on the cops, but they won't really know the totality of that blame. And so then it's just a real easy scapegoat. And then they think the cops were incompetent when there's really an easy explanation that the court's responsibility should be to, I think if you want fairness, if you want real justice, the court system should be more transparent about how things out work. And then you would have injustices like the O.J. Simpson trial or the Casey Anthony trial and things like that. I think that I get it. It's a game between the defense and the state, but I do believe that if you want fair justice, then we have to be transparent on how the actual justice system works and not try to retard it and confuse the juries. And sometimes I feel like true crime, even the best ones, even like the Ashley Flowers, so good at what they do, right? And Serial and all these other so good, but they miss one little detail. And it's like, if you just talk to a real cop or got an outside perspective from actual law enforcement, you would be able to articulate that to your fans. And then it doesn't take you down the wrong path, if that makes sense. But anyway, we now have Allie and Santana to combine forces. And I think that's going to be really good for the true crime industry. So I'm really excited to see how they grow. Without further ado, let me bring on Allie Seabird here. Bring her on. Allie, good to see you.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
This is new. We've got a bunch of first responders. Yeah, we got mostly cops, a lot of firefighters. For whatever reason, firefighters, they sit in their little fire dorms and they just dream about being a cop. So they listen to the show. They're little voyeurs. You know what I mean? They're like little voyeurs, like trying to see all the hot action that us cops have. So shout out to them. Don't have a lot of state troopers because they don't have a sense of humor and they don't need entertainment because they're robots, right? So they don't need to be entertained. So we don't have a lot of those, but then we have a lot of paramedics and EMS and they're just dark. And so they're more of like, they're just here to like get their rocks off. Like if it's not a bloody gory show, all of our EMS guys, they just kind of like, and girls, they just kind of, you ever met an EMS worker?
I don't have a lot of experience meeting people like this. No.
Oh my gosh. If you want real stories, take an EMT out to dinner for lunch, whatever. It doesn't matter. And then just ask them about their day. Like, don't even ask about their week. It's so crazy. 911 dispatchers are the same way. Real great. So we got a lot of 911 dispatchers in here. Well, we got some corrections officers. Shout out to you guys. But we appreciate you guys all being here. But this is our first civilian. So I would ask the chats to just be kind and not be too brutal here. Because, I think it's fun. I'm excited to have a civilian perspective on, but you have written some books. You've got one book in particular that's out right now called Bloodstained.
Yes.
And it's very interesting what kind of true crime you do. Can you just explain briefly what kind of true crime you do before we jump into this breakdown today?
Absolutely. So I do historical true crime. So I focus on anything that happened before like 1960, specifically late 1800s, early 1900s. And I focus on cases that have been essentially forgotten. So they're not like the Jimmy Hoffa case. They're not like it's not things that people know about. It's things that were crazy front page news, huge stories at the time, but now are just forgotten. Nobody knows about.
Which is really, really, really cool. And it's such a creative take on it. Tell us about the book very briefly about Bloodstains. What is it about and what kind of inspired you to write it really quick and where can we find it?
Yeah, Bloodstained is an anthology of 5 stories of Michigan murders that have been lost to time. There's a theme here. Mm-hmm. And you can get it on Amazon or if you're in Michigan, just happen to be, you can get it at Fenton's Open Book. And they're cases, once again, that are forgotten, but were huge at the time. Some are solved, some are not. But it features photographs, maps, census records, all that good stuff. So it's very historically rooted, but it's still stories.
Yeah. And you've teamed up with Santana and you're coming out with this new podcast on the network called Allie in the Archives. And we don't know exactly how this is all working out right now. We're all in this transition period going over the summer. It's going to be a very fun summer because we have that big crazy news that I know I've been telling everybody about. Don't worry, you're going to get it sooner or later. But the network is going to grow. It's just going to grow in a different way now. And I'm really excited to see where this is going. And Allie in the Archives, guys, it's spooky. It's creepy. She's got her and John Bates and Cameron Santana. They're working so hard on that. She's doing all of her own editing. And it's got everything that a true crime podcast should have. But for right now, head over to Santana True Crime. There's a new episode out, the Ted Bundy and Jeffrey McDonald with Mark Penske episode coming out. So yes, that's what we have today. And since Allie's going to come onto this network for a little while and join us and be our true crime guru, it means you'll have to go follow her on Instagram and social media. How do they follow you really fast?
You can find me on Instagram at Allie in the Archives.
All right, right here. So that's it. Allie in the Archives. That's ARCHIVES. Remember, Allie, these are first responders. They are C students at best. So we have to big bird the cookie monster it for them. It's ALLIE in the Archives, ARCHIVES. 99%. What's that?
Do you spend this whole podcast just roasting them?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Why wouldn't you?
Cool. I love it.
Yeah, you should see my stand-up comedy. Like when we do meetups, and if like Lord forbid, and there's always like 3 or 4 state troopers that come in a pack, and they're all ready to like battle my roast, but they don't have a sense of humor, so they try, bless their hearts, and then I just eat them alive for like 8 minutes, and I really enjoy it. So we have a really great time together. They try hard though. It's funny because they plan it out. You know, they got their little jokes. They try to do it in unison. It's like, you know, like when you're in middle school and you would like call your girlfriend, you'd be like, "Hey, wear your pink Abercrombie shirt, and I'll wear my blue one, and we'll match." You know, that's what they do. They're like, "Hey, I'm gonna roast Eric, but I'm gonna say this," and then you guys say, like but you can tell it's choreographed because they're not that creative.
I feel like that says something though about their planning ability.
They are good planners. Yes. Yeah. I mean, as a robot would be. State troopers are the AI of policing, if that makes sense.
I feel like that's just mean.
Well, they are mean. You ever been pulled over by a state trooper?
No, I'm a great driver.
Yeah. Well, Lord forbid you ever get pulled over. You will be like, "God, why are you so fucking mean? Why are you so mean?" Because they can be very aggressive for good reason, and that's because they work alone, and they don't have backup. So they have to be they cannot get into these situations like a street cop. So good first question, Allie. Good first question from a civilian. Why do we pick on state troopers, and why are state troopers so mean? And here's why: because they are alone and they don't have time for shenanigans. And if we're on the side of the road, which if you've never pulled a car over on the highway, have you ever had a flat tire on a busy road?
Yes. Yes.
It's pretty nerve-wracking. Cars are whipping
terrifying.
by. So, you know, a state trooper has to deal with that all day long. And they're pulling cars over, and so that's stressful. So they don't want to waste time at your car door. Also, oftentimes state troopers will work probably multiple fatalities a month. So driving badly affects their mood. And so they do take it personally when people are driving like assholes, because they have seen the damage and the chaos and the trauma that it causes families. And state troopers on the weekly have to go and tell the loved one that they didn't make it, or that they're never going to walk again. I mean, the things that state troopers see are pretty bad. So they do take it personally when you do drive like an asshole. Yeah. And so then they in turn are kind of assholes. And also at the same time, they can't really afford to get in a fight with people because they're by themselves. And so it's a win-win every time. You have to be perfect. Imagine a UFC fighter. They go into the UFC fight alley. They get to see their opponent. They know that they weigh the same as their opponent. They can watch a video of how their opponent fights. They get all of this information before they get in the ring, and it's still 50-50 on whether they're going to win or not. State troopers, cops as well, we get in fights we don't know. We don't know how much they're going to weigh. We don't know what their capabilities are, and they might have weapons. And there's just there's not a ring. There's not a referee. There's also concrete. So there's a lot of things that go into it. And that's why state troopers kind of are the way that they are, but we can still make fun of them for it because that's okay. I mean, that's what we're here for.
Well, I do want to say I appreciate everything that you guys do, because that's a job, all of that, like that, the whole thing that you guys do, I could never in my life. So thank you for everything you do. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
And so a lot of, and I'm glad that we have you on, because you are a true crime expert. You're very good at true crime podcasting. Your script writing ability is incredible.
Thanks.
You are a great writer and everything. And so I think it is important as you grow as a podcaster, as you become more famous through your books and all these things, it would be nice to have a representative of the true crime cast of influencers, if you will, that would kind of understand what policing is, because a lot of true crime podcasters like to make the cops look like idiots.
Yeah.
They really do.
Yeah.
And a lot of times there are things that can be explained. Like, for instance, in the O.J. Simpson trial, if you go back to that, which is not, it's not dating it like the way you like. No. It's a pretty older case. It's a little older case, But if you remember, a lot of the things that the transfer of custody and the knife that they didn't use in the trial, which would have proved 100% that O.J. committed that murder, they blamed it on the cops. And so the real easy explanation for that, though, to the jury is that when if you and I are cops and we're searching a house and there's a brutal murder, and you and I are searching the kitchen, and I say, here, I've got the knife. It's right here in the sink. And you say, put it in the evidence bag. And I drop it in the evidence bag. That's not, at the time, that was not considered a transfer of custody.
Interesting.
But they use it as a semantic. They were like, well, they didn't do a transfer of custody. So how do we? But it's like, that's not something that cops do. That's something that you guys did in the courtroom that you battled up. But that's not real life.
Yeah.
There's no transfer of custody. We might write in our report that Allie had the bag and I put it in the bag, but Allie, you're the one that's going to put it in evidence, so you would sign it. I don't really need to sign off on that. And so there are little things. That's just a loose example, very loose example. But those are examples how the cops look really, really bad for doing something that every cop and every normal person would do.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like when you're talking about this, like as a true crime person who's going to be telling people about cases, like if you're not doing your research all the way, that's the sort of thing that happens.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Exactly.
Dogs.
No, you're fine. He sounds like an awesome dog.
She's not.
Oh, she's not.
She's kind of bad.
She sounds like a cat. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. So in the true crime, the true crime ways, it's like, and it's, you don't know what you don't know. But so like, if we were talking to witnesses and you hear a witness say something, and then you're like, as a true crime expert, you're like, yeah, that's crazy. The cops did that. Well, I'm sure the cop has a whole nother side of the story. And so in true crime, we love to hear the different sides of the story from witnesses. Oh, that's very interesting that one witness did this and one witness did that. But why don't we ever want to know what the cop witnessed? And why don't we ever want the cop's perspective? And, understandably, it's because probably cops are harder to get a hold of. But, in the Holtzclaw case, for instance, that we're breaking down, we have we played in one of our last clips is that the gentleman, I forgot his name now, but the gentleman who kind of kicked off the whole Holtzclaw case comes out on the news and he's telling the news in a very articulate manner that he convinced this woman to call the police, that he went and called the detectives, that this woman was sexually assaulted by the police, and he articulates it really nice and kindly. But then we play the 911 audio, and that wasn't the case. The case was that he was picking up a prostitute and she was high on drugs and she was tearing his car up, and he calls the police and she said, "Don't you be calling the police, them the ones that raped me years ago." So when you really listen to the 911 audio versus what this guy articulates to the news, it's two totally different stories. And now we have a police officer doing 260 years for a crime he absolutely did not commit, and there is zero evidence. And a matter of fact, that there is evidence that shows that he didn't do it, yet he's still serving 260 years in prison for it. And it's all because nobody got an outside cop's perspective. They all took the word of the streets, and of course, two very flawed detectives that did probably one of the worst investigating detective jobs that I've ever seen in my career. And so that's why we have the free Holtzclaw podcast. So you guys can go and listen to it, one by one. But it would be great. It would be great to have the true crime civilians that would go and actually ask the questions, because what you see in court isn't always the reality. Yeah. As well.
Yeah. Well, and that's true of a lot of things.
Right.
Especially with like big publicized cases, is the thing.
Anad Saeed, right? Remember the Anad Saeed case? Or am I pronouncing his name right? The first serial podcast, probably the most famous true crime podcast of all time.
Oh, really?
It was Serial. Yeah, it's the largest, still to this day, the most downloaded podcast of all time.
Do you want to know a terrible secret?
Yeah.
I've never listened to Serial.
Really?
I know.
Well, just that one. I will say that one, you have to listen to it. If you want to be a true crime podcaster, I feel like you have to listen to that, because that one of the best jobs in investigative podcasting. Couple of things they got wrong, but everybody's going to get something wrong. It's not that big of a deal. But they freed a man who really, I truly believed Anad Saeed did not commit that crime either. I don't. I think, and they got him freed. That podcast got him freed.
That's amazing.
It is. Yeah, it's
That's
great. Now,
amazing.
yeah. And, they did a great job. That was kind of the catalyst too, because they really made the cops feel like they really, again, I wish they would have reached out to a real cop, because they made the cops look really incompetent in that series. However, those were all explainable things. And it wasn't really the cops' fault. It wasn't really the cops that got him in jail. Again, it's poor detectives and poor investigators, but those aren't real street cops. So John says, hi, Allie. Let's jump into...
John.
And then another serial podcast is the one, it's called S-Town. S-Town. So those
I'll have to listen to it. Yeah.
Too soon. Not so much true. It is true. It's, I don't want to give up too much. The two of the most downloaded podcasts in the history of podcasts
that's wild.
So
people love true crime.
Yeah.
They do.
Mm-hmm. So Nijken says, Nijken's our Swedish fan. He's been with us for many, many years. He just sent us 27 Bones. Says, I listen to Failure to Stop podcast. Well, good. Nijken. Thank you for that. I like lamp. No, we appreciate the super chat, brother. Much love from Sweden. He sends my family Christmas gifts every year. It's really, really, really sweet of him. Big super fan. Nijken is. One day we'll have to meet in person, but I don't think he visits the United States very often. Let's go ahead and jump into today's case. Before we do, it's brought to you by ghostbed.com. Sleep so good it's scary. Listen, if I'm going to listen to true crime, I want to listen to it in my ghost bed. Beds made in the good old USA. We have been partnered with Ghostbed for about last 6 years, or at least I have. On the other network, that was when I was with Drinking Bros. On both those shows, I was with Ghostbed. And of course, I've had them on the Failure to Stop for 4 years that we've been doing this. So we love Ghostbed right now. They have revamped the website and they've revamped everything that they've got going on. So go check out. The new promo code is still Wolfpack, but it's 10%, not 50%. But they've lowered the price of a lot of their beds. And they brought in some more baseline models so that everybody can afford ghost beds. I was actually in Costco here in North Carolina not too long ago, and they had ghost bed products in Costco. So that was really, really cool. It's good to see that them growing. I've got to go down to Florida Alley and walk through the facility. It was a lot of fun, and I got to see how they make the beds, and it was really great time. So we really love Ghost Bed. Probably the most comfortable pillows, the cooling sheets. If you have frail, brittle hair, like my wife, she has that real curly hair and has 5 kids. They actually made a pillowcase that are like bonnets. They made out of the same material that bonnets are, so that if you have fragile hair, you can lay. That's how thoughtful they are. They have the sheets with the cooling technology. So if you get really, really hot, like we do in North Carolina, it gets real hot and humid. These cooling sheets and the cooling technology will keep you cool all night. You don't have to like roll over to the cool side of the bed. Same with the pillows. It's a lot. So we really appreciate Ghost Bed. And then we also have factormeals.com/Wolfpack50 OFF. Meal planning to the next level. Summer is here. Memorial Day weekend. It's the kickoff of summer. Want to get your beach bods going. You don't have time to be going to the grocery store when you could be sitting by the pool for an extra 30, 45 minutes. Go to Factor Meals. Let them take care of your meal planning, whether you want to go calorie conscious, protein heavy, you want to get up on that new keto friendly diet. They have something for everybody. These are chef prepared, fresh and never frozen meals delivered right to your door. You get to pick from tons of different menu variety items, plus all the snacks and accoutrements that go with them. And they're delivered right to your door, and it's a wash. The cost is a wash. So by the time you put gas in your car, you go to the store, you buy all the things that you didn't need. They weren't on your list. All that adds up. You could have just went to factormeals.com. The price would have been about the same. And you don't have to have the Pyrex dishes, the Pytex dishes, whatever they're called, all your, what is it, pampered chef bullshit that you had to do. It's all right there. You can put it all, it's all color coded, so you can match it up in your refrigerator. Factormeals.com/Wolfpack50 OFF for 50% off plus free shipping. That's factormeals75.com/Wolfpack50 OFF. Don't forget the OFF so that you will. I don't want to get any of these DMs like, Eric, it's not working. And then I say, did you put in this exactly? Wolfpack50 OFF. And then you're like, oh, I forgot the OFF, or I forgot the 50. Then I'm like, see there? All right. Attention to detail. It matters in this field of work. Let's get into today's case. I'm going to play you a little bit of 911 audio. I think there's an ad in the middle of the audio. So I'm going to play the audio for about 30 seconds. Then I'm going to stop it so I can fast forward through the ad. Thank you, YouTube. Even though I pay you like $10 a month, YouTube, for ad free, still don't get the ad free. I still don't get the ad free. I pay the money. Not sure why. I still have ads all the freaking time. So anyway, here we go. Let me do this right here. We're going to listen to the 911 audio, and then we're going to go through this.
It's front desk. I'm patching a 9-5 subject, last seen Slater and Los Jardines West.
Okay. Hi, Fountain Valley Police Dispatch.
Hi. There was a man here at Slater and Los Jardines West. He's probably in the parking. At this point, I've lost sight of him. But a woman was pulling her car just out of the school parking lot at Masuda, and he clearly looks disturbed. He's wearing jeans, no shirt, shaved head, possibly Hispanic or white. But as he passed her, he was talking to the car, something's wrong with him. But then after he passed her and she tried to pull out, he tried to grab and open her car door. And you could see she was visibly shaken and tried to drive away. But clearly there's something wrong with that man. And I thought I better let somebody know.
Okay, but she's since driven away?
She's since driven away. But you could see her, afraid in her car as he's trying to open her door. And
okay, and she was at Masuda or 7-Eleven when that happened?
Masuda. She was pulling out of the Masuda school parking lot. She made a right onto Los Jardines West, and then I walked back and followed. But now I've lost him. He's somewhere in. He has turned in somehow towards the parking lot here at 7-Eleven, and now I can't see him anymore.
Okay, yeah, we can have somebody check the area. Can I get your name and phone number?
They're going to redact the name and phone number.
Okay, yeah, we'll definitely get somebody out there.
Okay, thanks for taking a peek at that. Hopefully they'll.
Yeah,
thanks.
Yeah, not a problem. Thank you. All right, bye.
Okay, Allie, what we have so far. Are you familiar with this case at all?
No, not at all.
Okay, you've never seen any of this body camera video. You have no idea how this is going to play out, correct?
No, I am a true civilian.
Cool.
With no knowledge.
Yeah, I made sure that none of our producers gave you this video in advance because I want this to be raw. I want to give you the real life cop experience. So you just heard the 911 call. All right. Mm-hmm. As a civilian, what is your what do you think we have going on here? What do you think? If maybe put yourself, pretend you were a cop, maybe, or maybe not. But what do you think is going on here?
Well, it sounds like there was a gentleman who is managing some mental health issues or maybe some self-altering issues.
Okay.
And he is trying to get into a woman's car while she's driving.
Yeah.
Which you can't do.
Yeah, can't do that. That's
Don't
a crime.
do that. That's what it sounds like to me.
All right. Well, as a cop, this is what I'm thinking.
Okay.
Domestic violence. I think she said they were in a school parking lot.
Yeah.
This is me thinking a dad is, supposed to have custody, maybe something like that. Dad's trying to talk to mom who's blowing him off. So she meets him at school. That's where my brain goes. Off the bat, that's what I would be thinking. Possibly maybe a mentally disturbed person.
Yeah.
But so here's the thing with 911 audio and 911 calls is that civilians, they kind of come up sometimes this, honestly, is the best 911 audio I've heard in a very long time. Usually it's I don't like the police. Maybe the 911 audio would sound like there's somebody acting crazy out here in the parking lot. Can somebody come out here and look at him? I don't know. He looks white or Hispanic. This was a very she did a really good. She gave a lot of good details. Maybe she's done this before, or maybe she's a medic or a nurse, where she's used to being very specific. If I had to guess. But a lot of times civilians get things wrong. And so as a cop, maybe I'm just telling you from my perspective, I'd be this is probably some kind of domestic related guys trying to get into a car. But you are you're going to go with the 911 caller on this one, mentally disturbed or maybe on drugs.
Well, she said he wasn't wearing a shirt.
Oh, that's
which
true. I didn't
feels
pick up on
odd to me.
Yeah, that's true too.
Especially in a school parking lot.
I didn't
what are you
catch
doing?
That. Yeah, you're right. True. I guess I should have picked up on that. But as a cop driving, I wouldn't have picked up on that. I've been fuck it. Some guy trying to get into somebody's car in a school parking lot. It's wrong. And I'm wrong, by the way. I am wrong.
Oh.
In my case, it's not domestic. But I'm just saying, as a cop, I would probably my guard would be very down. I wouldn't care about this call. I wouldn't care about this call. Especially since he left.
Yeah.
I wouldn't care. I'd be like, oh, okay, cool. Like,
See, that's so interesting because if I heard that, I'd be like, oh shit, like,
yeah,
that's bad news.
Yeah, but we get these calls like, so this
all
cop,
the time.
This cop would in a bigger city. How many calls do you think one cop will go on in a day? 12-hour shift. Means they work 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. That's what we always work because you can't get any police work done in 6 hours. It's impossible.
Sure.
You would take one call and then one report, and then that would be 6 hours. So you have got to do like 12 hours. How many calls do you think a big city cop takes in 12 hours as a civilian? What do you think?
I have no, like 3, 4.
Yeah, probably around like on a weekend, like on a Friday, probably somewhere around 20 to 25.
Wow.
Maybe on a slow day, 8 or 9.
Wow.
On
That's
a Sunday,
amazing.
maybe 3. Maybe 3 on a Sunday.
Woof.
Or if it's really cold. So if you're getting 20 calls on a weekend, or like, let's just say it's a slow Wednesday. Let's say you get 8 calls for the day.
Mm-hmm.
Those 8 calls are all going to be similar to this because people don't really just call the cops for no reason.
Yeah.
Right. So it's always something, a little bit crazy.
Concerning. Yeah.
So over the course of 4 years, 5 years, you're like, oh, dude tried to get in the car, didn't get in the car. Lady drove away. It's in a school parking lot. Dude took his shirt off. Maybe he's mad, pissed, domestic violence, but he's gone. I'm going to go cruise so everybody feels safe. I'll go sit at that 7-Eleven and type my next report just in case something's crazy. But good news is I'm probably not going to miss lunch for this.
Interesting. Do you feel like that feeling that, like, I don't know if desensitization is the right word for this?
Complacency, maybe? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah. Do you feel like that affects the way that, like, do you feel like that gets worse the longer you're in it? Or not worse? I don't know what you're...
Yeah. Complacency, if what you're trying to say is complacency, like, do you get complacent? Well, complacency kills. So it's something you do have to fight. And that's why we go through a lot of in-service training to try to keep you hyped up. But let me put it this way for you, Allie. In policing, typically, we go off of a scale. It's called being in the green, being in the yellow, or being in the red. Now, you visit a lot of houses, right? Like old houses. And don't you write on like their hauntings or something like that? Like true crime. You investigate like the history of the house, right?
Yeah.
So maybe a little bit of haunting sometimes, right? Something like that. So maybe you walk into a house, right? And it's a really nice house. It's really nice and clean, and it's pretty. And they just want to know the historical. They think that maybe it was housed a Civil War family that was a general or something like that. You might be in the green. You're going to walk in there, you're friendly, they're friendly, and we're not really worried, right? We're getting into the books, we're touching the wood, we're listening to the creaks of the floor, we're enjoying it, right? Funny day, right? You're in the green.
Sure.
But now let's say that this person says, I want you to come to this house. We know that it was a Civil War hospital, and we've been hearing these really loud, creaky noises, and it's very weird, and I don't want to say that it's haunted, but could you come in here and look at the history of this? And you start to drive this house and it's raining and it's gloomy outside and it's a little bit cold. Now you're kind of in the yellow as you're walking around the house, right? You're not like, ooh, I'm going to fight a ghost but you're kind of like, oh, you know what I mean? Right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you?
Guards up a little bit.
Guards up. Now you're in the house. It's dark. The people are kind of creepy themselves. You're by yourself. It's cold and rainy outside. Now you're like kind of in the red. You're like, I don't want you to be behind me. I'd rather you be in front of me. Like, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So you're in the red, Cops are in the yellow for 12 hours and they have to go from yellow to red. They're never in the green. Even when you're in your uniform in the line at the grocery, like maybe you're just picking up lunch, at low, you're dropping by the Wegmans or what, I don't know what you have out there in Michigan.
The Meijer.
The Meijer. You're at the Meijer. You want to get a healthy salad for lunch, but you've got to worry about who have I arrested in here? Who's going to see me in uniform? And so you're always in the yellow and it's very fatiguing.
Yeah.
It's very tiresome. When you're at a red light, you can't just sit at the red light and just stare at the red light like everybody else. You got to see who's next to you. Is it a crazy person that's going to pull a gun out and shoot me? Because cops have been shot many times at red lights. Matter of fact, we had the one female cop that was shot in the face at the red light in New York. just sitting at the red light. The car pulled up next to them, pulled out a gun and blasted her in the face because they didn't like the police. This was, 3 years ago or something like that. We covered it here, big case. And I'm sad that I forgot her name, but she passed away. But so cops are always in at least the yellow.
Yeah.
And so you can't go to every call like this in the red, or you would shoot everyone. Right? And you don't want a cop. You don't want a cop to be always in the red. Right?
No.
But a cop can't be in the green.
Right.
Because we're about to see what happens, what unfolds. You just never know. And so there you go. So yes, we're always in the yellow. And so does complacency kill? Yes. But at the same time, how do we, as law enforcement officers, how do we navigate life through green, yellow, and red? You have to, so my way of turning it off is I never changed out of my uniform at home.
Oh.
And I never took a cop car home with me. And I never try to get dressed at home. Very rarely. Maybe, rare circumstance, I might just do it. But most of the time, I took my uniform off in my locker because that's my way of turning it off. Like, okay, I'm leaving it here.
Yeah. Because it's not the type of job where you can just close the office door and call it a day. It was not that it's the same at all. But when I used to teach, I was a teacher for a while. And that sort of like carrying it with you emotionally was similar in that, like, at the end of the day, it wasn't like I was just like, okay, I'm done. Like, have a good one. It was, I'm coming home and I'm still thinking about these kids.
I'm glad you said that because that's been one of my bigger problems with school teachers is that, and cops the same, right? And so I used to start you do a Fox FAWKES news. But I used to always say, in the early days of podcasting, I'm giving you something else to talk about other than dead babies and domestic violence. That's why I give the news while you're sitting in the car. So you have something else to talk about.
Yeah.
And so cops have a real problem with always being a cop. They come home and they sound like a cop. As a matter of fact, if you ever watch Parks and Rec, the TV show, it's really funny how they articulate that. They're at the bar and they're like, "Oh, what you had here was," and they always talk like they're cops. You get it, right?
Yeah.
Well, teachers do the same thing, but they always want to talk to you like you're a child. They're like, "Hey, Eric, how are you? How is the family?" I'm like, "Don't talk to me like that."
Well, when I was teaching, the people who were coming in for like professional development, they would talk to us like that. And that was one of my, oh my God, it's one of the reasons I don't do it anymore because I was like, I can't live like this. I can't be a child for the rest of my life.
Yeah. I went to I hosted a Christmas party at a bar that I owned. I owned a distillery and a bar and we were hosting a Christmas party for the PTA. For like a school thing. And it was all adults and it was the bus drivers and everybody, and it was rent free and they got to bring their own food and the whole 9 yards. And when they started the party, they started with somebody made a noise and it was 70, I think it was like 78 people in there. And they all went,
no.
Yeah, they did that.
No.
At the Christmas party. I was like, and I like audibly went, what the fuck?
Good.
Because I was like, are you guys a fucking, like you're at after school non-sanctioned Christmas party with adults and you guys are doing the fucking, what is that? It's so embarrassing. It's cringe, as they said.
It is. Well, and I feel like we were talking about like getting complacent with the way things are. I feel like if you're in that profession for long enough, you're just kind of like, this is just how it is. And you don't question it anymore.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And it's, and that's something that's, probably through, if you're a teacher or a nurse, people are saying nurses sound like that too. And, maybe that's something that you learn from this show that you look internally and say, do I sound like a nurse? Do I sound like a teacher? Do I sound like a cop?
I love teachers, by the way.
You love what?
I love teachers, by the way.
Oh yeah. Who doesn't?
Very clear.
Who doesn't love a good teacher? Who doesn't love cop? And that's the thing too. It's like, I could say that there are tons of bad teachers. Like we all have that one teacher we remember that sucked, right? But we don't say like all teachers are bad. No. Well, like think about how many bad teachers you've met. Like that's equally in policing.
Yeah.
Like there are cops that suck, but the
Yeah.
mass majority are selfless servants, right? Like when you go to like most teachers care so much about those kids. They buy them lunches, school lunches. They really want to see their parents be successful and their family relationships be successful. And they try to get to know the kids on a personal level over the course of 9 weeks or the semester. And they really try, and that's a lot of cops too, right? A lot of cops and teachers, nurses, firefighters, we all have this calling to serve. But then there are the few outliers that are there for power trip issues, just like there's that teacher that just wants to slap down the rules and it's all about the finer points. We actually went to a church for the first time in like 20 years, and my 3 sons are homeschooled. I have 5 kids total, and they have never been separated from each other really. And, me and my wife, we've come to this kind of conclusion in our lives that we want our kids to be saved through Christ. We feel like they're generally interested in Christianity and the faith, and they like to read the books and they like Bible stories. And we haven't done a good job of facilitating any type of religion on our children. And so we wanted to go to church to give them an opportunity to like hear from people who know what they're talking about, and then they can make their decisions on their own. And so we take them to this church, and we don't want to have this to be some kind of like traumatic. It's church. Like we're not trying to teach them any life lessons. Like, oh, you guys have to learn how to separate from each other, because they're like Irish twins at this point. They're like 7, 10, and 12, but their birthdays are all very close. So they are, they are connected at the hip. And we didn't, so we were like, can we put them all together? And the lady was like, no, the 12-year-old has to go in there and the 7-year-old has to go in there. And I was like, yeah, but can we meet them in the middle and have the 7 and the 12-year-old like meet in the middle at the 10-year-old class? And she was like, unfortunately, we just can't do that. And I was like, why? And she was like, because that's just the rules. The rules are the rules. And I was like, so you're not going to like bend the rules for this one? And so she said no. And I said, well, I think you're a very ugly person. I think that's a very terrible way to. And my wife's like, God damn it. And so I'm like, and we're done. We're like, we're not even gonna fucking do this because this is fucking retarded. And it's like, then they wrote me this big long email. And I wrote back and I said, listen, we were there to have our kids learn about Christ, not to teach them fucking life lessons. And I was like, I guarantee you're a public school teacher with that attitude. And she's a school teacher, because they can't get away from the rules. But she's not all teachers. She's not all teachers, but she's that one bad cop that's like, you were speeding, you're getting a ticket. I don't care if this was your first time, and I don't care that it was only 4 over. You're getting like, there are all these ones that they don't understand the importance of the decisions you're making. And it's like, if I give this a ticket, and Allie here is freshly out of college. I don't know anything about you, by the way, but let's just pretend that you're freshly out of college and you've got a rinky-dink Nissan Altima. You're missing like 2 hubcaps, but you've got all the school books in your shit. Like, it's obvious that you're some kind of a fucking nerd of some sort that doesn't have a lot of money. It's trying to find her way in her life, and you're going 5 miles an hour over in a construction zone. I can like, listen, is it bad? Is it dangerous? Yeah. Do people die in those construction zones all the time? Yes. Do I feel like you need to be reminded of that? Yeah. But I don't have to charge you with in a construction zone, which is going to add another $250 on, which is going to make you resent me, which is going to make you not be able to get your studies, which is making you be late on your car payment, which is not going to help you do this. And it's like, it ruins, it makes your life significantly harder. The punishment doesn't fit the crime. When I can say like, look, this is her first time. She doesn't have a history of this. I'm going to tell her the importance and the safety of why it matters in a construction zone and why we do this, and how many construction work did X amount of construction workers die per year, and that we've had these many incidents. And so that's why it's important that you do not speed. I'm going to give you a ticket. I'm going to give you a break though on the construction zone, as long as you'll tell me and acknowledge to me that you understand why it's important. And if you are like, yeah, I understand that. Now what we run into is, I wasn't speeding, I wasn't doing that, or some of that. And you're like, okay, well, fuck you. Then, you know what I mean? Like, now I'm going to ruin your, that sucks for you, but tough lessons to learn here. And so, that's where the bad teacher, bad cop kind of comes into play. They're all the same people. But,
I agree. I just like there's bad people in the world, there's good people in the world. It's just,
and you have to acknowledge that. We have to acknowledge that there are bad seeds, and it sucks how they got there. Don't get me wrong. But at some point, those decisions and those choices, they have to own them. Yeah. And I know that it's, it sucks that, I can't help that I was born in the United States and not in Cambodia or Myanmar. Right. Like, I can't help that, but we all have decisions and we all have choices to make. And at the end of the day, you have to kind of live based on those those decisions. And, I always say that, my mental illness, your mental illness, it does not mean that the world has to carry the weight of your mental illness. That is your family's responsibility. Nobody asked for it, but it is your friends and your family's responsibility to help you keep your mental illness in check. And if they really do love you, they will help you. If you're mentally ill and you're drinking alcohol, you should have family and friends that say, bro, we're not doing that, versus like, ooh, let's call Allie and have her come over and let's get drunk tonight, knowing that Allie is a raging shit show when she's drunk. You know what I mean? Makes terrible decisions. I mean, I don't really think that.
True. Very true.
So let's go ahead and see how this plays out, and we'll talk about it.
There's no audio here, just in the beginning, because the body camera is getting ready to start.
Not in trouble or anything, man. I just need to talk to you.
Can you take me to Jonathan's?
Okay, we'll figure that out. Just take a seat for me. What's wrong? You got no shirt on. Take a seat.
I know.
Take a seat.
All right. Allie, what are your questions so far? So it looks like this cop is pulled over. Obviously, we have our suspect. Maybe white, maybe Hispanic. Perfect description, right? Yeah. She nailed it. Bald head. This is our guy, right? Yeah. As a civilian, obviously the cop, the body camera footage doesn't roll audio for like 6 seconds. Whenever you turn a body camera on, it wakes itself up, essentially, because they're on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
So when you hit it, it usually takes it a good 5 or 6 seconds for the audio to catch up.
Interesting.
So they're always dead for audios are always dead for a few seconds. Okay. So obviously his first words were "come here." You can hear his tone. Do you need to hear his tone of voice again or anything like that?
No, I'm already sad for him. Okay. Just as a person,
yeah,
I am like empathetic to a fault.
Sure.
Good, but also
no, it's good for the show. It's good for the show because this is what we want to hear. So we want to hear your perspective.
So when I see this, the first thing I heard him say was, "Can you take me to Jonathan's?"
Yeah.
And he's talking to him like he knows who Jonathan is.
Right.
When obviously this man is a stranger. He doesn't know who Jonathan is. So he's obviously not in his right mind.
Right.
Like he's managing something.
Yep.
He's not wearing a shirt, but he's calm. He seems very calm.
Yeah.
I feel like for me watching this, I would think like, okay, this guy's not a danger. He needs help.
Yes. Sure. And now what do you note about the officer's tone and aggression? What do you see there?
I was happy to see it because I don't know, sometimes you see body cam footage and it's like, yikes. But with this, I mean, he's being like super gentle, super friendly. You're not in trouble. He's touching him, reaching out. Like,
do you know why? Do you know why he's touching him?
Is it like to restrain-ish?
It's two things. One, we are taught to judge somebody's compliance and what their intentions are. And you really can't do that without touching them. So if I'm going to pull you out of the car, I will gently place my hand on your shoulder to see, all right, if you do this, I know that you are in the yellow. You're not okay. And so I might either keep my hand there because I want to keep you at distance.
Yeah.
But now I know that there's something more to this because the average person, if I step you out of the car, the average person does not care.
Mm-hmm.
We step hundreds of people out a month out of their vehicles for various reasons. Car wrecks, do encounters like this. Matter of fact, police officers will get this call 3 or 4 times a day and it never goes bad. We put our hand on the guy sits down nice and calmly. We take him to Jonathan's. We take him to Mom's. It happens every single day of our lives. But it all starts with this because if the guy pulls back, now we know that he's not we know that there's something there. So we always want to put our hands on somebody, and also it helps us keep the distance. And I wrote about it in my book, Pig Latin, a seriously funny true story. The only time in my career that I didn't put my hand on a guy stepping him out because he was flamboyantly gay and crying because he got pulled over and he thought it was the worst thing in the world and he was crying. And I wanted to show him and prove to him that he did indeed have a broken taillight because he was like, I'm scared of the polices and they've been killing black people. So I was like, dude, just get out and look at the taillight. And you could see like, I'm not even going to give you a ticket. You can't roll around like this because it's blinding everybody. So basically his taillight was busted and he's just got this beaming white bulb of light, and it's extremely bright. And for old people, maybe not for young people, that's okay, but like old people, are people with nystagma or stigmatisms, like it's brutal, and it makes driving very difficult for them. So we like to let people know, and then we tell them, hey, Napa Auto Parts has a red tape. You can put the red tape over it, and it won't blind everybody in the world. But I just thought you need to be aware of it, and it's also a ticketable offense. I'm not going to give you a ticket. So I step him out of the car, and I don't touch him. Well, the guy wasn't gay. And the guy wasn't afraid of the police. The guy was carrying a fuck ton of cocaine, and he turned around and he blasted me in the face and shattered my back teeth, broke my arm, and Santana was there for that. And it was a very gruesome fight. It was the only person that I never put my hands on. So from that day forward, I never had an encounter where I didn't touch the person because I never want to get blasted in the face again.
That's horrible. I'm so sorry that happened to you.
Oh, that's not even the worst thing. But so that is why this police officer is doing it. He's being a very good police officer. He's putting his hand on there. He's checking for compliance, and he's trying to see what's good. Also, we don't want this guy taking off running into traffic, which has also happened in many cases. Most cops have had an incident where somebody takes off running and gets hit by a car. It happens more than you think. So one thing that we're going to notice here, and we'll keep playing it, and we'll talk about it.
I don't have to. Yeah, you do. No, I don't.
So let's see. Let's go back just a little bit.
Take a seat for me. What's wrong? You got no shirt on. Take a seat.
I know.
Huh?
So what he just did there, Allie, it was very quick, but he looked off his left shoulder.
Yeah.
Did you see that? Did you see him look out there? So that is an indicator that he's about to run. Everybody, before they run, look to where they're going to run, and it's called fight or flight.
Yeah.
So if I'm talking to you and you look over my shoulder or you look through me, we know that what's going in your brain right now is called fight, flight, or fight. It's either you're going to fight me or you're going to flee me. Because you're only two options. A normal person does not look through you. It'll never happen. And so this officer now knows that this guy just gave the number one indicator that he's either going to run or he's going to fight. And so as a cop, you have a decision to make. You can either escalate and you can be first, as in like, I'm going to grab a hold of you now so that you can't hurt me, so that fight's not even an option. Or I can back way up and let flight be the option.
What would you do in this
those
situation?
are your decisions. In this case, being that it's a busy road, it's the middle of the day, and he doesn't have a shirt on, my big fear here is that he's potentially either going through excited delirium, which your heart which you're getting so hot because your heart's beating so fast because of the fentanyl that's coursing through your veins that you strip off clothes. So you could die very quickly of that. A lot of people die of it's called fentanyl overdose essentially, but it's called excited delirium. And excited delirium goes one or two ways. Either you crash completely and die, or you fight extremely hard. And there's really no in between when people are going through excited delirium. Also, another indicator of excited delirium, we'll talk about it here in just a second, and you're going to see all of those indicators. And so this cop has a decision to make. Do I let this guy run, which would potentially kill him because he could get hit by a car, which happens so often. I actually chased a guy who lost his leg, jumped over a barrier on the highway, got smacked by a car, lost his leg. It happens all the time. We've actually done cases where the guy runs and jumps over a bridge, drowns, or jumps over a bridge onto a highway and dies. So a lot of bad things can happen when you run from the police. And so, as a cop, do you let him run? Maybe, but we're definitely not going to let him fight. That makes sense?
Yeah, for sure.
Let's see what this cop does. Let's see what he does. Again, he's having to make this real time. He was driving here. Who knows what he was thinking? He could have been thinking along lines of you, mental health, drugs, or he could have been thinking me. I'm not even going to find this guy, and it's not even a big deal. Either way, he has confronted this man who matches the perfect description, and now we have this.
I don't have to.
Yeah, you do.
No, I don't.
Yeah, you do.
In Jesus' name I pray forever. Amen. In Jesus' name I pray forever. Amen.
All right, so what we have here is he says, in Jesus' name, amen. So let me just read you this really quick, because this is what we're taught as police officers, that there are certain drugs that induce religious or spiritual experiences.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Well, you've probably heard of ayahuasca, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like DMT, right?
Sure. Yeah.
There are, how about acid, LSD?
Yeah.
Mushrooms. Mushrooms give you an extremely religious experience. But DMT, or what bath salts, which is a form of DMT, or it's them trying to recreate an LSD DMT style experience through bath salts, and also fentanyl could be thrown in there. So whenever you have drug use, we often have a super religious experience. We had a breakdown last week where a state trooper gets in a car chase. The same thing. The guy says, I rebuke you in the name of Christ. I rebuke you, Satan. I rebuke you. And then he takes off running in this very high speed chase because these drugs, they induce a spiritual like hallucinations, right?
Sure.
So we know that as police officers, we're trained on that. So now we have, he's looking through me, indicator number 1, he's going to run probably or fight. And then 2, he's now saying, I rebuke you in the name of Christ. We already know right now that it's drugs. Very few mental disability schizophrenia lead to a spiritual induced schizophrenia. More likely than not, this guy is extremely skinny. There's probably some kind of opioids. Again, doesn't mean he's like a crackhead or anything like that. Maybe he broke his leg in a traffic accident or something and he got addicted to it. We don't know. But at the end of the day, we know that he is having what's more probable than not a drug-induced, probably fentanyl-related or bad trip-related drug episode here.
Gotcha.
That's what the cop is thinking right now.
Sure. That makes
And now
sense.
we're gonna run. Now it's like now the chase is on. And do you have any questions about that?
Is that the norm? Like if they run, do you chase?
Well, good question.
Thanks.
Let's say that he runs and he gets hit by a car.
Yeah.
What do you think the family says if the cop does not chase him and the guy takes off running and he gets hit by a car? What if he takes off running? How about this? Not so dramatic. He takes off running, he goes around the corner and dies of an overdose. Who do you think the family holds civilly reliable?
The police.
The police.
Yeah.
What happened in the Gabby Petito case? Do you remember the Gabby Petito case?
I do. Yeah, vividly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I covered the Gabby Petito case in great detail. Here's the problem with the Gabby Petito case. If he would have arrested an influencer, Gabby Petito, for domestic violence, the department and that cop would have been crucified alive for arresting somebody for no reason, for holding her accountable. If he arrested the man, that's an injustice because he knows that she was the aggressor, at least by the evidence.
Yeah.
And so the easiest thing to do is say, can we separate? And that's what the cop did.
Sure.
Now nobody's held liable. The cop had no idea that they were going to separate, get back together, and then she was going to be murdered.
Yeah.
But who was fired? The cops.
Yeah.
Who also was civilly sued for shit tons of money, ruining their entire life.
Yeah.
The
That
cops.
sucks.
You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's a lose-lose. So as a police officer, you have a duty to act. There's a saying in not to act is inaction. So if the cop just lets him run, maybe it works out. Maybe the guy gets away and everything's okay.
Yeah.
And he goes and he does a job. But what if he gets away and he stabs somebody to death? Now we have a Gabby Petito situation. Why are the cops so lazy? Why didn't the cop do his job? Why didn't the cop stop this guy? What if he goes and steals a car? Because remember, the call was he was trying to get into a woman's car. What if he does get into a woman's car?
Jeez.
Gets in a head-on collision.
It's very damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Now, what does the law say? Does the police officer have the right to detain somebody based on a 911 call only? The cops got to think about that too. What do I have here? Is this guy resisting my arrest? Was I allowed to detain him in the first place? What do I really have here? Is this drugs? Is it a mental episode? Am I going to get sued if I chase him and he dies because I didn't have a right to detain him? All of these things are being second guessed by this police officer. And things that are easy answers when we're sitting in our offices on our webcams are not as easy in a split second when you were just at Starbucks and you were about to stop by Target and try not to get caught running in there really fast to buy a Christmas present for your daughter or birthday present for your son really fast. That's what your mind is thinking. But now we're going to take this call on the way. And all of a sudden, now I'm in a foot pursuit, right? Not that easy. So let's keep playing this out and see how it goes. So he does choose to chase. And we'll see how long it goes. But I love your questions. They're right on money.
Oh no, I tore the horizontal.
So the cop knows he's going to lose this foot chase. So he starts to use the radio. So he's talking very articulately on the radio. He's not yelling and screaming like, I got one running. He's very calm, cool, and collect, right? He's not amping everybody up. He's saying he's running towards X. The cop has 35 pounds of gear on his body. So imagine putting a 35-pound vest on and then chasing a half-naked dude. The half-naked guy is probably going to win every time. You saw the guy's abs. This guy's cut. This guy's shredded. This guy's no slouch. So he's definitely outrunning this cop, no doubt. And the cop knows that. And he's let his ego down, and he's being very calm on the radio. And he's like, I'm going to give this up. Somebody else that has a car can catch this guy. I don't care. I'm not going to catch him. So he pretty much is not giving up, but he's not like going all in.
All right. Just 148 at this time.
So the cop says the only crime is obstructing an investigation. Not a big deal. Misdemeanor at best. But he says it very calmly. He says, all I have is obstruction. So that way all the other cops know it's not that serious. Like he didn't hit me. He didn't fight me. This is just a guy running who's probably, now everybody's like, this guy's probably on drugs. Like, and he's running from the cops. Not a big deal, right? So he's very calm. Do you see any escalations here? Do you see the cop being too? No,
not at all.
He's in the parking lot across from the PD. He tries to run again, just let him go.
Okay. Let me play something really quickly for you. When he's running towards the police station. What do you think goes on in the parking lot of a police station? Real quick.
I mean,
if you were a cop sitting in the parking lot, if you were a cop and you had a whole bunch of reports to write, right? Some people think a police station is just like a place full of computers. It's not. We're not that funded because everybody has a computer in their car. Where do you think a great place to type your reports would be?
In the parking lot?
In the parking lot of a police station. So if you ever drive through a parking lot of a police station, you'll often see a whole bunch of cops sitting in the parking lot typing. Now, some cops will type in a spot that'll make everybody slow down, right? So sometimes I would park in the median and everybody would like flick me off. Oh, fuck you.
You're kidding me.
And all I'd be doing is just typing, I'm just typing a report. But if you see me, you'll slow down. So
do they actually do that?
Oh God. Yeah. Some people will stand, they'll park their car next to you and like wave their hands to get other people to slow down so that they don't get a ticket. And all you're doing is typing. And I just laugh because I'm like, actually, the reason why I'm sitting here is to get everybody to slow down. Not a big deal.
Yeah.
Or I'll type in the middle of a parking lot where there's a gang. Like there's a gang sitting in a parking lot of a gas station. I'll go sit at that gas station and type my report. I type with my eyes up because I don't want to get shot. So you got to be good at typing without looking. But what are they going to do when they see a cop in the parking lot just sitting there?
Yeah, they're going to leave.
Fuck right off, right?
Yeah.
So, but, a lot of times in the middle of the day, maybe there's not a lot of cars on the road. We don't really want to deal with all that. So we're going to go to the police station and we're going to type there. So there's almost always somebody in a police station typing, right? Not a big deal. The cop is going to hear something and it's the sound of the new Ford Explorers revving up to get to him because he's in a foot chase. So he's going to hear this. Last thing you want on your mind as a police officer is one of your buddies to get in a wreck coming to help you.
Yeah.
So he hears the vroom, and he stops and he gets on the radio and he's like, hey, listen, it's not that serious. Basically, he's saying, if he runs again, just let him go. Like it's not anymore. Like it's fucking like who cares, right?
Yeah.
So let's play that out so you can hear it really quick. Now that I've told you, hear it.
He tries to run again, just let him go.
So remember, you and I had the question, do you let him run or let him go? So this cop was like, at first I'm going to chase him, but now I think I can play this one off in civil court. Like I couldn't catch him. Chasing him was more dangerous than was worth it. He hasn't hurt anybody. I'm just going to let him go. I did my due diligence. I tried is basically what he's saying, right? Let's see what
makes sense.
Now, Allie, I want you to imagine for 1 minute that you are a cop.
Yeah.
You're a police officer. And yeah. And you have a compassion because you're a female cop. By the way, police officers all have different intents on why they become police officers. Some want to be a canine officer, so they join the police department to work with canines. Some want to be the drug McDuff dog, in the costume that says, "Stay off of drugs, kids." Some people want to be the community park ranger style cop where they walk around the parks and, tie up balloons into clowns. Like everybody has their own thing, right?
Yeah.
So maybe you are the bleeding heart. I want to work in the schools. I want to be a school resource officer and I want to work, with kids or whatever.
Yeah.
And so that's what you're doing. You're buying your time. So now you're sitting in a parking lot, Allie, and you're typing out some report, of some kind of school violence, a little fight between, fucking second graders, and you're just typing your report. You're sitting in the parking lot. You got your legs dangling out the door. It's a beautiful day. Obviously that looks gorgeous. Correct. May. So it's not too hot, not too cool. You got your feet hanging out the door and you're just typing in your squad car. Can you hear what he's running? Can you tell why he's running?
No, can you play it again?
I'm going to play it again. I want you to listen over, like take your ears over the clacking of his uniform.
Yeah.
Listen in the background. Hear the screaming?
Yeah.
And look how far away that screaming is. That's a very loud screaming. You hear that, right?
Yeah.
What do you think that would do if you're a cop and you hear that from super far away and you hear that blood curdling scream after you just chased a guy? What do you think his adrenaline is doing right now?
I think it's skyrocketed.
Yeah. Do you know all the things he's thinking right now?
I'm sure there's like an element of guilt.
Yeah. I fucked up.
Yeah.
That's what he's thinking right now. I fucked up.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have let this guy go. Fuck. That's what he's thinking.
That's so heavy for one person to have to carry.
Yeah. And I'll tell you a story after this. Hold on.
She's in a fight. Go 3. She's got a weapon. Put it down, dude. Put it down. Perfect. Put it down! Hey, put it down!
Mind you, this man is holding a gun and there is a woman screaming. Obviously, those screams are of somebody who is what? What do you think those screams sounded like? Somebody that's what? Scared. Or what? Scared?
Scared
or
scared
scream? Scared or hurt? I think
it
sounds more hurt.
Does it?
Well, a scared scream would be like, ah, and then maybe like a run. You know what I mean? Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
That's true.
Like
Yeah.
that's a scream.
Yeah, you're right.
And not moving, not going anywhere, not coming towards me, not going away from me. It's just a audible over and over scream. Sorry if that sounded too creepy, but listen to that scream again. So now this guy's holding a gun. You have what can be articulated as maybe somebody scared or hurt. And this cop still hasn't shot yet, by the way.
Yeah.
She's in a fight. Go 3. She's got a weapon. Put it down, dude. Put it down. Put it down. Hey, put it down!
998, 998.
And he's dead. Right? So now he's dead.
Wow.
Wait, hold on. It's gonna get crazier. We got one more camera angle, so you can see that this police officer. We'll see her body at camera angle.
Start 80, start 80. Hey, put the gun down.
Here's her body camera. See her computer open.
Yeah.
She's got one hand on the steering wheel. The audio will kick on here in a second.
Mm-hmm.
She's getting out of her car. She's got her head out. Here comes this guy. He walks up on her. And he takes her fucking gun.
Oh my God.
And she's not shooting him.
Save the Jesus name! They're saving the Jesus name forever! They're saving the Jesus name forever!
Oh my God, oh my God! Oh my God!
Forever!
Please don't shoot me! Please don't shoot me!
Hey, put it down!
All right, we have a lot of things to talk about here, and this is where the show's going to get it's going to take a little different turn. I would like to ask you really quick, do you have any questions?
I mean, yes, but I don't know
Yeah.
that they're answerable.
Well, it's fine. We'll see.
I mean, my first question is, why didn't she shoot?
Good question.
My second question is, I don't know.
Here, let me read you this. Let me read you this article from CBS, and maybe that'll give you some insight into why she didn't shoot. Let's see what CBS News has to say. Suspect steals. By the way, it's at cbsnews.com/Los Angeles News body cam. Suspect steals Fountain Valley officer's gun. Suspect steals Fountain Valley officer's gun before being shot to death. New release body camera footage from the Fountain Valley Police Department shows the tense moments after a suspect managed to wrestle an officer's gun away. Police officers were initially called to the 17400 block of Los Jardines West after someone tried to break into a woman's car while she was parked outside the Wazoo Masuda Middle School on January 24th, according to Fountain Valley PD. One of the officers eventually found the suspect, Osean McClintock, 26, near a drive-through ATM roughly a block from the Fountain Valley's police station. After a brief conversation with him, the officer tried to detain the shirtless McClintock, but he ran away. The officer chased McClintock through a nearby parking lot outside the Fountain Valley School District office, but gave up and told his partner over the radio, if he tries to run again, let him go. Seconds later, he hears his partner shouting from a parking lot entrance at the San Mateo Street and El Crozon Avenue intersection, and sprints to her help. The female officer's body cam shows McClintock running towards her, opens the driver's side door. While there's no audio, the video shows her pulling out her handgun before McClintock wrestles it away from her. During the struggle, the officer is thrown to the ground, but quickly gets up and runs for cover right as her partner arrives. Now, let me go scroll on down here. Here's what McClintock's family claimed. The officers put themselves in a dangerous situation, and they don't understand why the police killed the 26-year-old. Quote, they put themselves in a very dangerous situation. They put the public in danger by drawing out their weapons, and unfortunately, it cost my brother's life. She said her brother suffered from a blood disorder that caused disorientation. Quote, he did have a blood disorder, and sometimes he would get brain bleeds. When he would get these brain bleeds, sometimes it would make him feel very disoriented, confused, and he would think that people were trying to hurt him. Also says the female, let's see here, during the struggle, okay, we already covered all that. Okay, quote, he did grab the weapon from her, but I know that my brother was not someone to hurt anyone. That's what his sister said. He's never hurt anyone in his life. Her partner orders McClintock to drop the handgun, but he refuses and enters his partner's cruiser. The officer unleashes 2 volleys of fire and killed McClintock while he sat in the driver's seat. Said, I believe Her brother was scared and was trying to leave the officer's sight before he was killed. I believe he was simply just trying to leave the officer's sight, and he was very scared. And he was scared in the moment as anyone would be if you had a gun pulled on you.
Ay.
Do you see where the public goes? Do you see why a cop has to, a lot of people think that cops are just out there and they're ready to kill anybody. A cop's biggest fear is not killing somebody because somebody's going to die. Their biggest fear is that they will themselves have to go to prison for killing somebody. Nobody wants to go to prison. Also, blood disorders and even schizophrenia don't have often it's something my aunt, my mother's sister, died in a mental institute. She was in an institute her entire life because of schizophrenia from the time she was in high school until she died. And and so we would go and visit her, and we had a lot of her conversation would be perverse, and they would be about other people, right? They would she would tell me about all these people that didn't exist, and there was a lot of perversion, but there wasn't this grandiose religious experience. She didn't rebuke Satan in the name. Sometimes she would say, I see the devil. I can see the devil. She would say weird shit like that, but there wasn't this like, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus Christ. Like all this. More often than not, that is seen with a drug overdose. So again, here is the family making excuses as if they're gaslighting us. Like, did he have a blood disorder? Probably, but this was not due to a drug disorder. More probable than not. And then a police officer's brain can only go with the most probable answer. What is it, Malcolm? Is it Occam's razor?
Yeah. What is it? I know what you're talking about.
Right. Occam's razor. Like what is the most likely answer is usually the answer.
Yeah.
People in the chats. Am I saying that right? Is it Occam's? Malcolm's?
I like the phrase, when you hear hooves, you don't automatically assume zebras.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one. So that's probably why she didn't shoot. Now, here's another reason why she didn't shoot. And this is the problem. And politics, unfortunately, have poisoned the profession. One of my favorite quotes that I termed myself was political policing poisoning the profession. Political policing poisons the profession. And it means is what we police based on political climate. And that is never safe nor good. And policing should be one way all the time.
Yeah.
And in the late 90s and early 2000s, policing was at its best. And it wasn't until the the Michael Brown incident, where it all started to come on level. Now, some people will say it goes back to the Trayvon Martin case, which had nothing to do with the police. Remember guys, Casey Anthony, white, free. O.J. Simpson, black, freed. We can go down the list. It's the court system. It's how you retard a jury. It's how the defense or the state confuses a jury on whether somebody gets off. We know that Casey Anthony killed her daughter or was a part of the killing of her daughter, yet she was free. We know that O.J. Simpson killed Nicole Simpson, but he was free. George Zimmerman was Hispanic and was not a white person, and he was free by the court system. That does not have anything to do with policing. Michael Brown, the hands up, don't shoot, every single body camera worn footage, every dash cam footage, and every footage pulled from the block showed that there was never a hands up, don't shoot moment. That was made up by the media. Yet everybody crucified the police over that. We allowed, and then policing changed. From that moment forward, from Michael Brown forward, policing changed. Matter of fact, the city of Raleigh, I write about it in my book, changed a lot of their policies based on a threat that never existed. Policing wasn't there. The Breonna Taylor case was another great example. The media told you that she was asleep in her bed and there was a no-knock warrant. In fact, it was a warrant signed by a liberal DA, and it was not a no-knock warrant, and they did not serve a no-knock warrant. She was involved in two different drive-by shootings. She was seen over the course of 30 days delivering drugs and money to the location. She was never an EMT. She was an emergency medical room technician, which means she cleans up spills and poops and pees. She wasn't certified in any way, shape, or form, and she lost that job nearly a year before the incident. She was not asleep in her bed. She had an argument at the door for 1 minute and 48 seconds. They play the whole entire argument in front of the jury. And that's why a jury of her peers in Louisville, Kentucky, who's not exactly pro-police, pardoned or found Sergeant Mattingly and his men not guilty. but a political Department of Justice kept going after. But the facts of the case still change, or the facts as it was presented by the media still change the way policing is done to this day. And it's poisoned the profession to the point we have right here, where we talk about DEI and we talk about, who should be able to be employed and what not, but it poisons the profession because at the end of the day, bad guys don't care if you are a man, woman, black, white, or Chinese. Bad people don't care what your race, color, or creed is. So what matters at the end of the day, especially when it comes to a police officer or as a soldier, I've been both. At the end of the day, it's in the worst moment, which if you're going to do the career for 30 years, has to be something that you plan for. One of those days in 30 years, think about Uvalde. Uvalde is a very small town that averaged 2 murders a year.
Wow.
2 homicides a year. They had one of the most gruesome homicide school shootings in history, correct? So you have somebody that goes to work who averages 2 homicides a year. And so you see what I'm saying here? That at some point, it doesn't matter if you're in Uvalde, which is a small bullshit podunk town of Uvalde, or you're in Chicago or New York or wherever, Detroit.
Yeah.
If you're going to be a cop for 30 years, you have to know that the worst day of your life is coming. And it might come more than once.
Yeah.
Most police officers end up shooting 1 or 2, 3 people in their career if they go through 30 years. So you have to be prepared for that. If you are not prepared for that, how can you be a police officer? And here we have a female who not only loses her weapon, but then goes condition black. Remember we talked about green, yellow, red?
Yeah.
And there's also black. And black means you shut down completely. Tunnel vision has taken over. Adrenaline has taken over. You're now saying things and you're doing things that make no sense, or they don't. You have checked out. You've gone. Reality is over. Usually suicide kind of precedes that if you really want to go deeper into it, or other things kind of like go after that. It's kind of foreshadowing. But condition black always has some kind of a consequence, whether it's a retirement, you quit. Usually people don't come back from condition black. They can't, their brains will never recover from that. Again, generally speaking, there are cases. So this girl goes condition black. She was out of the fight. She was never in the fight. How many times do we see videos of, there was another video that we were going to play today where a woman, her partner gets shot in the face and she deals ultimate death to the bad guy. She pulls her gun out. The guy covers up. She walks up on him and she keeps going. She's like, fuck you. You're dying. I'm living. Go fuck yourself. Yeah, and that is, if you don't have that mindset as a cop, that you can't flip that switch that says, I am a savage beast. I will go fucking native. I will scalp you. I'll skin you alive. I'll do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
If you don't have that button, you cannot be a cop. And we have too many females and fat guys and whatever guys that join policing because they want to wear a badge or they want to prove a point that they can do it. You can't. And it's not fair to me. It's not fair to the cop who was just chasing this guy. And it's not fair to the guy and his family who was killed. Had she had been a warrior, and this guy walked out, I don't think she would have pulled out her gun, Allie. If that guy walked up on her, 50-50. If you're a warrior, if you're a badass chick, you might have been like, get the fuck back and shut your door and locked it. And then maybe pulled your gun. You would have gotten out and put your hand out and stiff armed him and put your gun on your hip and beladed your hip away from the guy. And so that if you wanted to fuck around, you would shoot, and you wouldn't shoot from out here where he could get your gun. You would be if you were a trained killer. If you were my partner, she was a female, her name was Red. She was a warrior. She wasn't going to allow some shit like this to happen to her because mentally she was prepared to go to the distance.
Yeah.
This woman was not mentally prepared to go that distance.
Yeah.
And in the heat of the moment, when it mattered the most, she shut down. Not only did she run around the back of the thing and hide, which is fine. I've got no problem with surviving to live another day. But then the police officer killed the guy. And guess who had to get on the radio and call for medical help? The officer that shot the guy. Yeah. Why wasn't she on the radio? Did she ever ask if he was okay?
Yeah. No.
She sat there and cried like a little bitch. Because she wasn't in there mentally and she was not fit to be a cop. And everybody that trained her and everybody that was a part of her career failed her. Either you knew she wasn't cut out to be there and you led her on to believe that she could be there, which she could have died. She really could have died.
Yeah.
And that's why I say that the politics and the policing has to go away. It is either you can do it or you can't do it. You're either good or bad. A bad teacher doesn't get somebody killed.
Yeah, it's true.
Maybe emotionally scarred like me, and they start podcasting and they write books, and then they, they create a company called C- Media. Maybe a little emotional trauma, but they're not going to get people killed. They're not going to get yourself killed. And so we have to stop lying to ourselves. We have to stop allowing fat cops not to be shamed. If you are a fat and out of shape cop, you should be shamed into either losing weight and being who you're supposed to be. You have a duty to serve and protect. How can you serve and protect the community when you're fucking enormously fat and you can't chase or save anyone? We're not playing games here. If you're the only one to come get me out of the burning building and you have to go up 8 flights of stairs and I pay you my tax dollars to come and get me, I want you to be able to get up those fucking stairs and come and get me. And if you're fat, you cannot do that. And I know that's not fair. So as a cop, that is my stance. What is your take on that as a civilian? When you hear somebody like me say something that maybe sounds like really harsh like that, how does it make you feel? Or do you have an opinion on that?
I feel like I am not qualified to speak on this because I'm not in that community and I don't know what goes into it. So like my opinion is that if you're going to be in this profession, I do believe you have to know what you're getting into and be prepared for that. But I am in no space to judge anybody's choices. So
well, you are because you pay taxes, because you pay for that help.
That's
you know what I mean? And I think that you do have a say in who is coming to save you. And at the end of the day, when you need it the most, do you want this woman who is not mentally fit? I brought this case up not because it's a woman, but a lot of the YouTube videos, and usually we're running out of times here, but usually we'll read through the comments and all the comments are like, this is why women shouldn't be cops. This is why, and I disagree with that. I do disagree with that on the side, but I do not feel that you should be a cop because you're a woman.
No.
And I think far too often in this profession, they will make, and a lot of departments, especially big city departments, will make exceptions to the rule to allow a woman to be a cop, as in she didn't shoot very well, so we will lower the standard. Normally, if you don't shoot very well, we'll give you 2 tries, but because she's the only woman, somehow miraculously, she's going to get a 3rd try.
Yeah.
She's going to get a 4th try because we want to fit a political agenda into our policing. And when you do this, it is not fair to the taxpayers. And if you are a true servant, if you're a true selfless servant, then you should be okay with that. You should say, like, I wanted to be here. Come to find out, I suck at shooting. And it's not because I suck at shooting, because oftentimes when it's not because you're a bad shot, because shooting can be taught. Anybody can shoot. Matter of fact, women typically are the best shooters. Because you know why women are the best shooters?
I'd love to know.
Boys like to, a girl, generally speaking, right? Generally speaking, it's hard to do that in 2025. Generally speaking, what do girls play when they're little?
Barbies,
right? They play not with toys so much, but like what fantasies do they play out in their head?
Oh, they play house,
kitchen, cooking, baking. What do boys play? Generally speaking,
Cowboys and Indians,
right? And so they're doing a lot of what when they shoot? What does their hands look like this, right?
Yeah.
Pew, pew, pew,
yeah.
Pew, right? In shooting, this movement is terrible.
Sure.
And it's trained in a child's head. Even when they're shooting a squirt gun, they'll. So when they get a real gun, what do you think they do?
The same thing.
Right? A gun recoil is supposed to come this way. So if you're doing it right, the recoil should become this way. Pow, 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 pow. And your gun is pow, and then it lowers, pow. That's movies, right? But real shooting should be more like this.
Yeah.
In movies, it's like this. So when a kid gets a hold of a gun and he shoots, he thinks that the gun is supposed to go like this. And so, so sometimes we'll load fake bullets in the gun and we'll watch him squeeze it and it'll go click. We'll be like, well, why did you do that? There was no bullet there. It's because your brain is bad. Girls don't do that. Girls don't have
That's
that.
Funny.
So girls, when they're told how to shoot, they don't have this reflex.
Yeah. That's so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That's a cool fact.
It's a very cool fact, right? So women also process things differently. So a guy is shooting, he's shooting for clout. He's shooting for fame. He's shooting for like, I've been taught this. I've watched all the war movies. This is my moment. A girl, when she's shooting, she's watched Barbie and Little Mermaid, doesn't have that. What she's thinking is pull this trigger, squeeze, don't pull. Focus on the recoil. Make sure that my pinky is pushing, like make sure I have the proper grip. She's thinking of how to mechanically do it correctly, where the guy is thinking about like Rambo, like, yeah, motherfucker, yeah, motherfucker. And a girl is like, she's thinking about the mechanics of it. And that's why women are better shooters than men.
That's
when women cannot shoot It is not because she's incapable of shooting correctly. It's because she doesn't want to hurt anybody. And she has the mother instinct. And she knows that if she shoots correctly, somebody ultimately dies.
Yeah.
And she doesn't want that to happen. So she refuses to be taught. She might say, oh no, I'm a woman. I'm a powerful, strong woman. But internally, the reason why she cannot shoot is because she's a strong, powerful mother figure. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Or protector, and that's why I disagree with the word protector when it comes to policing, because we're not protectors. We're warriors. You don't want a protector to come help you. You want a warrior. You want a savage. You want somebody that's going to kill somebody so he doesn't kill you. When there's a school shooter, you want a whole bunch of savages running down the hallways that are ready to go to Valhalla. You get what I'm saying? You want some Viking fucking animals that are like, I will take 18 to the chest before I let another child die. A protector is like, how do I get around this corner without getting shot? How do I do this safely? You don't want that when the shit hits the fan. You don't want that. You want a warrior. You want a fucking war cry, paint my face up really fast, and like, let's go fucking do work. That's what you want, honest to God. In your dynamo, if you're being raped in a bathroom and it's locked, this is a real case. Just happened very soon. The man runs into a grocery store, a gas station, and he locks this woman in there, and he proceeds to pluck out all of her teeth, a good number of her teeth. Yeah, he bangs out all of her teeth. I think it was somebody in the chats that's seen it. We were going to cover it. I can't remember. What did he use to bang out her teeth? I can't remember if it was the tail end of a knife or whatever, but she's screaming horrifically, and the cop is waiting for backup, and he's calling for backup. Yeah, I think it was a gun. Maybe it was a gun, and he was using the butt socket, but the cop knew he had a gun, and so he's listening to this horrific screaming, and meanwhile this woman is losing like all of her fucking teeth. I can't remember if she died or not. We'll probably cover on that case, but the cop didn't go in. And so we have this woman cop doing what she's doing, but we also have this guy cop that's in the same boat, right? So I don't think it's men versus women. It's a mindset. This is a mindset problem.
Good. Yes.
The problem is we allow too many females with this mindset. We don't allow men with bad mindsets into policing because that's easy. We don't want, we have too many men anyway because of DEI and the policies in big cities. So it's easier to get rid of the bad men because they want to get rid of them anyway, but it's harder to get rid of the bad women because they want so many women. So if you had a class of 5 women, stereotypically, or like generally speaking, one of those women should pass statistically, but instead 4 will pass because they don't want that number. Right. And so that's why you have, 4-to-1 bad women cops. And it's just because because if there was 5 dudes the same way, typically speaking, maybe like 1 or 2 of those guys would make it. It's the same statistics, right? I think it was like 1,200 people that applied for my academy class. 56 showed up. 26 of us graduated.
Wow.
Do you see the number there?
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's very difficult.
Yeah.
But if we start allowing people that don't need to be there because of some of these issues that politics bring into it, Allie, such as who wants to be a cop anymore? Right? When we had the defunding of the police, when we had all the riots, and everybody just hate cops, spray painting, all cops are bad. Who wants to be a cop? What teenager at 16, 17, and 18 says, oh yeah, fucking all cops are bad. It's everywhere. Even my teachers are talking about it. Black Lives Matter. We've taken a hard stance against cops. And I know that they say like, well, Black Lives Matter didn't. It was pretty much an anti-cop statement. It was kind of like, some people really felt like it was a race thing, but a lot of people were like, this is a stab at police. And we know that it was kind of more of a virtue signal. People aren't immune to that. You can say one thing, but we know what the reality is. Like, you're a school teacher. Like, you have a student that was like, I am paying attention. Yes, I was. No, I wasn't talking. It doesn't matter that they tell you that. You saw it with your own eyes. You know. You know. And she might tell her parents and the principal and the guidance counselor, and everybody might be like, well, but you know.
Yeah.
And she knows.
Sure.
Cops say, so these teenagers, they know that. And so they're not going to become police. So now we have a recruiting issue. So now we're going to let other people in that necessarily didn't deserve to be there.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I feel like that's true in a lot of professions, though.
Okay. Which other professions do you think that, do you have any examples or no?
Well, I don't know. I think that there's situations where people have jobs that they're not necessarily good at, that maybe they shouldn't be allowed to do, but are allowed to do anyway, because it's just the way things go.
I think sometimes like a union can kind of affect that. Like maybe you're a postal worker because they're really covered by a union. Like you could be a terrible postal worker, but you'll never get fired. Yeah. It's physically impossible. So, yeah. And I say like the rest of the world should get a pass. I don't mind that. I believe that there should be a union. Like, I listen, unions have a lot of problems if you really want to get down to it. But I don't disagree necessarily in the totality of get rid of unions. Some people get mad at me. I don't believe in black and white either. I believe there's always a gray area.
Yeah,
right.
me too.
However, I would say that in policing, EMT, and in firefighting, and 911 dispatch, I think there should be zero tolerance. I think there should be black and white. Because it's not fair to you, the taxpayer, because this is different. If I'm a bad mail, U.S. mail guy, which is why the U.S. mail system sucks, and FedEx and UPS and everything is taking their business because they can't fire. But it's so what, you got your package a week late, big deal, right? But if we're a bad dispatcher, we don't get the right dispatch. You dispatch the wrong county, the wrong cop that wasn't the closest, somebody dies.
Yeah.
If you're not Johnny on the spots in these jobs, somebody dies.
Yeah.
Usually a very painful death. Think about a car accident and your aorta is separated, your left ventricle, whatever. I'm not a doctor. It's separated and you're bleeding out, and seconds matter. And they dispatched the wrong, in the George Floyd case, the EMS truck went to the wrong fucking place. It was dispatched wrong. Now, I'm not saying that accidents don't happen, but it's important.
Do you think that there's a better way to do things so there isn't that much pressure on one person?
I think that you put somebody through the academy, and it's the hardest academy. It's the hardest thing. And if you don't if you have a misdemeanor, you can't be there. If you lie one time, you can't be there. It should be, you have to be the best of the best to be a cop. I always say that, like, Navy SEALs, right? The best, and the best. I think cops should have to be better. I think cops should have to be at the same level, because at the end of the day, one good cop can do the job of 6 bad cops and mentally come back from that. I mean, I've worked, my squad, we worked a stabbing or a shooting every week, and those guys are still there. They're 15, 16 years in, they're still going, and they're perfect. Right. Whereas a quarterback can roll back and throw how many interceptions a game after they practiced, after they know where this guy, they still throw those interceptions. A cop can't throw an interception.
Yeah.
Because he goes to jail or somebody dies. And perfect example, I got in a car chase with a car. I wrecked my car in the middle of the car chase. The guy got off at the next exit, shot the pawn shop owner in the head, took the keys, stole a car, hid out in a house, and raped a 15-year-old for about the course of 12 hours, and then fled to New York. Had I not wrecked my car directly behind him, this guy wouldn't have murdered somebody and then raped a 15-year-old over and over again. So it's costly mistakes that cops have to live with, and you just have to get past that, and you have to move on. Another great example is in my academy, they use the N-word.
Yeah.
A white cop, a white instructor used the N-word to one of our black recruits. And I see the face you're making. Why do you think it's important that a white training officer use the N-word in a very calculated way? Of course, this guy didn't know it at the time because it was training, but what he did know was that his plan, he said, today, I'm going to call him the N-word. At this time, in this scenario, he's going to be called the N-word. Why do you think that's important?
It's because it's going to happen in the field, and you have to be
going to happen in the field.
Yeah.
And hey, what do you think when a white person hears another white person say the N-word? What, like, I'm just saying N-word. And are you getting chills?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
I saw your face, right? I saw you go,
I hate it.
So it's a word. It's the only word. Name another word that invokes that amount of emotion in any language. Can you name a word that puts that much emotion into human beings?
No, because it's a word, like, we literally don't say it. It's the N word. It's not.
It's the only word that exists that's that way. And so if you're a cop, things can escalate and de-escalate very quickly. When the use of the N-word by a white person is used, does that escalate most normal people or de-escalate them?
Escalate.
Right. So if you're a cop and you're at a scene where a guy's raging out of control at the bar and he's like, this N-word, this N-word, this N-word, what do you think the cop's emotion's feeling? The cop's going, I'm mad now. This guy keeps using the N-word. And so I'm going to punch him in the fucking face.
Yeah.
But we can't, because we have freedom of speech in this country. So as a cop, you've got to be able to internalize it. And just because somebody's using the N-word doesn't make them guilty of a crime.
No, that's true.
If a black man stabs a white guy and he says that N-word over there stabbed me, the white guy is still not guilty of a crime, and the black guy is. So as a cop, you have to be able to internalize these things. They don't allow the use of the N-word in the academy anymore. after the Michael Brown, after the Obama's pillars of policing took place. And I think that is a great disservice because now you're going to have a black guy that's going to go work with a white guy, and that white guy's going to call him the N-word, and he's going to pop that white guy in the face. And guess who's going to get sued?
Yeah.
The black guy. If you really cared about the black officer, you would make sure that he is prepared so he doesn't fuck up his entire life. What if he shoots the guy? He goes, oh, I'm an N-word? Pow.
Yeah.
And now he gets to go to prison for the rest of his life? When the very easy scenario situation would be here is to put him through that test. And hey, he doesn't have to fail. It's not a pass or fail in the academy. It's, do you see how you reacted? You cannot react like that way. And then you give him the scenario again a few weeks later. And you talk him through it and say, like, listen, what do we have to do? Because obviously this is going to be a problem. There's no way you're going 30 years in this career without being called the N-word. It's just not going to happen. That doesn't exist. What do we need to do to mentally prepare you? As a woman, you should have the shit kicked out of you until you can figure out how to not let the shit get kicked out of you.
Yeah.
And if you can't handle, if you're going to do, and run around that in training, then we should be getting you into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai. We should be getting you into some kind of, we should be convincing you and say, listen, in 30 years, some man is going to try to beat the fucking brakes off of you. You can either run, which is fine, live another day. You can fight, you can shoot, but you can't just go, you have to do something.
Sure. Yeah.
And if we're not there yet, we have to get you there. And so I think this is an important case to say that, guys, listen, if you are a sergeant, if you are a supervisor in your department, are your men warriors or are they protectors? And are we trying to talk to them? Are we showing them videos like this and pointing out the hard fact scenarios? Are we saying, listen, guys, it has nothing to do with being a female, but are you prepared in this situation? Are you prepared mentally to be part of the solution and not just the problem the entire fucking time? And I think that's important. And as civilians, we need to also be aware that our actions and how we treat police and how we celebrate police failures allows for more cops like this. And at the end of the day, maybe it's not you, Allie. Maybe you're not the one that's going to need that knight in shining armor guy or girl. But guess what? Maybe your best friend.
Yeah.
Maybe it's your mother. Maybe it's your aunt. Maybe it's one of these true crime victims. Do you want the best of the best coming to save you? Or do you want the fat fucking slob who can't even take care of himself? Do you want the domestic, the guy that we know has an alcohol problem that nobody will talk about?
Yeah.
The guy that we know is sexually harassing and being a little bit sleazy, but nobody says anything.
Yeah.
Do we want that? Say in policing, should be zero tolerance.
I agree with that.
And it doesn't matter what your numbers are. Oh, it sucks. Eric's been a cop for 15 years, but he's sleazy.
Yeah.
And he doesn't make you feel comfortable. Give him the fuck out.
Yeah. I agree with that for sure.
You know,
for sure.
But anyway, did you have fun today?
I did. This is so different from anything I normally do. So it's so interesting to me. Cause like I said, I don't know much about this. Like I do historical true crime. So like I live in old newspapers. I don't do like the today body cam, that sort of thing.
How about this, Allie? Here's one thing to think about. Tomorrow, this cop that just blasted this dude in the face, he's probably going to get 10 days off, maybe a couple months off. Maybe if he's lucky. Depends on what department. Some departments, this guy will be back on the street in 10 days. Do it all over again, right? He gets back in 10 days. Shows up to a suicide call. Goes in, looks like an overdose, calls it a suicide, and he walks out. Guy's a great gunner, great shooter, great foot chaser, great on the radio, but he failed to walk into a house and see that there were that the door was locked, but it was open. How was the door locked but open?
Yeah.
Why is the bullet hole canted at an angle? If you were going to kill himself, they would have shot this way. So just because the cop's really good at this doesn't mean he's really great at judging. So you see what I'm saying? So it's very crazy what cops have to know and what they don't. Drug recognition, mental health recognition, how to shoot, how to fight, how to run, how to talk on radio, how to determine a suicide versus a murder, then how to set up a crime scene. Imagine being the first cop onto a gruesome crime scene and then being criticized by some podcast junkie that says, and they really fucked up because they never set up an inner perimeter.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like imagine showing up to the most gruesome crime scene of your whole life, trying to process somebody's head missing, somebody's heart, still beating that you can see, and them gargling and doing those sounds of death. And now you also have to say like, I need to set up an inner perimeter.
Yeah.
You know
Well,
what I
and
mean?
that's kind
It's
of
unrealistic.
my takeaway from all of this is that like there is so much pressure put on you guys to be perfect 100% of the time. And while I think that there's like you should be good at your job
Yeah.
if you're doing this. But it's going to be impossible to meet the standards of everybody because they're not in the know about what needs to happen.
Right. And
You know what I
how
mean?
about now? Here's the discussion then. You brought it up. Here's a discussion. Qualified immunity. And that's why qualified immunity is so much and it's so important. And there is a huge civil reboot. It's not like you shoot somebody and you're just qualified you're just immune as a cop. They don't just say like, but they're fighting to take away qualified immunity. What qualified immunity really means is they sit the cop down, they go through psychologists, psychiatrists, they are asked by detectives, a review board, usually from outside that department. So like, say, where do you live in? Just let's say you live in Kalamazoo. They would bring in a Detroit detective to come and talk to you, right? It's not going to be in-house. And then we're going to put down the totality so that we can see what you were in the moment. And that's what that's where qualified immunity takes place, because let's say that this cop shot this guy to death for stealing that woman's gun because he heard that, but it wasn't a gun. It was a cell phone. He never had the cop's gun. But if the cop articulates, she was screaming, she was moaning, I saw him come around the corner, she was running away, I thought he had her gun, and I blasted him.
Yeah.
Should the cop go to jail for the rest of his life for that? No, that's where qualified immunity comes in. They say like, okay, this is what he's now. If the cop says, I couldn't tell if it was a cell phone or her gun, but like I shot him.
Yeah.
Well, qualified immunity doesn't apply.
Yeah.
And so when they say, let's get rid of qualified immunity, no cop can be a cop without qualified immunity. You would be foolish to be that cop, because then in 30 years, I beat the fucking brakes off of a dude who the detective said, that's my guy. That's the guy that committed the crime. I went and approached the guy and I asked him for his ID. He refused to give me his ID. And I said, well, sir, I have to detain you. We're going to do a show up because you match the exact description of this really violent crime that just happened. And I can't let you go. And he's like, I'm fucking leaving. I was like, you're not leaving. And he's like, I'm leaving. And then he tried to leave. And then he and I got in a fist fight in the middle of a food line. And I beat the fucking brakes off of him. Well, guess what? He wasn't the guy.
Oh, no.
He wasn't the guy. But qualified immunity was immune because the cop said that, because the court said Eric was reasonable in stopping you. He was reasonable in asking for your detainee, and you were unreasonable.
Yeah.
You didn't stay and hang out. You did everything he told you not to do, and you got the shit kicked out of you. And he tried to civilly sue me, and it didn't work there either because of qualified immunity. I can't do my job if this guy was a violent offender and I said, well, he didn't give me his information. And he doesn't want to wait around, so I just let him go. And then he goes around and he kills or beats up somebody else. All of a sudden, there's no qualified immunity. That's why I let him go in the first place. And now I'm like whole Gabby Petito situation. Now I'm fired. Now I'm going to jail for dereliction of cops. The cop that was involved in the school shooting in Tampa, because he didn't go into the school shooting fast enough. He was like sentenced. What was he up for? 30 years in prison. He worked as 30 years, retired as a cop, became a school resource officer. And because he didn't go in during the shooting, he was going to go to jail for 30 years. He was scared out. Now listen, I don't think it's a crime to be a coward. That was our whole episode. Is it a crime to be a coward? Because you don't know. This girl was a coward.
Yeah.
In this scenario, she was a coward. But she didn't know in that moment she was going to be a coward. So is it fair to make her go to jail because she happened to be a coward? So I don't believe that it's a crime to be a coward. I also don't believe it's bad to shame somebody for being a coward either. That comes with the name. So yeah. Somebody says I can never talk as fast as Tansey. Well, it's a 1 minute. This show is usually an hour long, and we've gone on for an hour and 47 minutes. So I'm trying to
oh, geez, Louise.
I know this is one of the longer episodes, but I thought this was so much. I hope you maybe you got something from it. But listen, if you want to ever ask any other questions, she is now on this network for the time being. Her name is Ali Siebert, and you can find her where one more time.
Oh, where can you find me? You can find me like my book.
Everything. We want these people to go follow you. I think they like you.
So you can find me on Instagram at Ali and the Archives. And then you can also go to my website, which is Household History. I do research of
so freaking cool. By the way.
Houses and historical whatever. And then when I'm done, you get a nice hardcover book, or you can get the mini house history, which is just like a like a little like 2-3 page PDF of little household history things that I pull from your house's history. And then you can also find my book, Bloodstained, on Amazon, or if you happen to find yourself in Michigan, you can shop local and go to Fenton's Open Book. And yeah, follow me and hang out with me.
What a great sport. It's different when you come on a show and you're kind of, these are hard conversations that people don't really want to have. But that was the point of Failure to Stop podcast, was we created this, or a network created it for us. And I just got to keep the show going. But it was a 1-year contract during the summer of love, as they call it. And it was to bridge the gap between society and policing. And so it was, how do we, as cops, because cops don't really want to speak your language as a civilian. And so I will end this on this so that you can think about it. But this is how I always say it, is that if we imagine a farm, if you will, for one moment, and the farm is full of sheep, white sheep, beautiful white sheep that are really friendly and they have a really good thing going. And then they have a farmer, and a farmer kind of manages the whole farm and everything like that. And the farmer, he gets a sheepdog to protect the sheep. And so the farmer goes to bed at 8 p.m. because he has to get up very early, and the sheep go to bed at 8 p.m. because they get up early too. And the farmer kind of coincides with their bedtimes. The sheep don't stay awake all night. They go to the barn at like 6, right? And they go to sleep. And the sheepdog stays awake all day, and the sheepdog stays awake all night. And why do sheepdog all have the 2 dots on their forehead? All breeded sheepdogs have these. While I'm talking about it, Dead, like, pull me up a video of a sheepdog with the things on its eyes. Rottweilers are the same way. They have them too. They have these
like
dots.
The eyebrows. Yeah.
They have the eyebrows. They have the dots on it. It's so that when they are asleep, the wolves and everything and all the predators think that they're still awake. That's why they are bred that way, because a sheepdog doesn't get to choose its schedule. It protects the sheep all day and protects the sheep all night. But when do you think the wolves come, Allie?
At night.
When do the foxes come into the hen house?
At night?
At night.
Okay.
Yeah, that's when it all happens, at night. And so during the day, though, where do the wolves live? In the what?
In the forest.
In the forest. And the sheep graze in they graze in the pasture, right? So
yes.
when you see the eyebrows, you see the little eyebrows. So when he closes his eyes from a distance, you don't know if he's awake or not. So when the sheep get too close to the forest, the sheepdog nips on their heels and it bites them to keep them back in the pasture.
Sure.
So during the day, has a sheep ever seen a wolf?
No.
Probably not.
No.
Or until it's too late, at least.
Mm-hmm.
So all the sheep knows is that this stupid fucking dog bites me when I get close to the woods, but I don't know why he bites me. I don't understand why. And I don't speak the language of the dog. The dog can't talk to me, and I can't talk to the dog. And the farmer has no idea that the dog fought how many wolves the night before. Because if a dog fights one wolf in a pack of wolves and he fights off the alpha, all the other beta wolves, they fuck right off, and so does the alpha, and the alpha doesn't come back. So we don't really know how many fights that this dog has won. And if the dog goes missing and he doesn't come back, the farmer just gets a new one.
Yeah.
He doesn't know that the dog fought heroically in the forest, a horde of wolves, to protect these sheep who they don't speak the same language. And so the farmer, local government, and the sheep, society, none of them ever really understand what the wolf goes through. It doesn't understand that the wolf actually works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and that he is bred to do a certain job. And the sheepdog does it out of love every single time. Yeah. When the farmer comes back, the sheepdog's always happy to see the farmer. The sheepdog always cuddles with the sheep. He wants to be friends with the sheep, but the sheep never really, the sheep are always a little afraid of the sheepdog, and the sheepdog never knows why. Because the sheepdog knows, I'm protecting you. What are you talking about? Like, why do you act like this way around me? I love you. I love you so much for no reason. And if you could only know how many bad things, how many times I barked last night, the farmer's like, shut the fuck up, dog. Yeah. Shut the fuck up. And he's like, yo, there's a goddamn fox out here trying to get close to the, like, what the fuck, man? I haven't slept in like 18 days.
Yeah.
I got
that's a great analogy. And that's true. Cause I do feel like, even just talking to you today on this, I feel like that gap is bridged a little bit, because like I said, I don't know any police officers. I don't know any like first responders. I don't know that world at all. So just getting like a little glimpse into it is very helpful to me.
And one last glimpse. 10 days later, this cop goes back to work and he gets a call that there's a strange man walking around the road. How do you think he treats that strange man?
Oh, I hope I hope a little bit
Does
more.
he say, get on the ground right now? What are you doing? You don't think, like, internally, do you think he's afraid that something bad is going to happen? Do you think he's in the red now? He's not in the yellow anymore. So now the cop's an asshole, right?
Yeah.
So 5 years from now, when the cop when he doesn't come up to you and go, hey, sir, what's going on today? Instead, he says, hey, sir, stay right there. Stay right there and have a seat. Have a seat right now or I will tase you. Because he knows that if he would have tased that guy, he wouldn't have had to kill him.
Yeah.
If he would have grabbed onto that guy and punched him in the face and slammed him on the ground, he wouldn't have had to kill him.
That's true.
If he wouldn't have jogged and just kind of let the guy go, he never would have had to kill him. So the cop will never forget that. And so forever, this cop will be an asshole.
But I guess not to make this go on forever.
No, you can do whatever you want. It's your show at this point.
I can do whatever I want. I love that.
Within reason.
Okay. I guess my question is, it's my show. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Allie Talks to You for 10 days. This is going to be so great. We're going to talk about Taylor Swift. We're going to talk about true crime. We're going to talk about glitter. Everything's going to be so fun. Okay. Please give your questions in the comment. Okay. So my question is for you, what kind of support is in place for these people who do go through things like this and then are obviously affected?
Yeah.
Is there support then for you so that
great question.
Doesn't affect you like that? Yeah.
Dr. Jameson, really great doctor. A lot of cops have visited Dr. Jameson worldwide, especially in Ireland. Dr. Jack Daniels, he's another really good famous doctor.
I caught on eventually. I'm here now.
Yeah. Captain Morgan. He's a great therapist. No, it's funny though. And again, that's something Dr. Daniels does house calls. That's my favorite. Taylor Swiftie, Katie K. You have a female fan here. She says, totally.
I love you, Katie.
I am too.
You and me.
I'm a huge Swiftie as well.
Did you go to the tour?
Really funny. No, my cousin, she went, super expensive, and my daughters are too young to respect it. So
that's fair. That's fair.
But her enthusiasm when she got the tickets, she got them for Christmas, and like I guess they won them, and you have to like be in a raffle to even be able to buy them.
Believe me,
something like that.
Know.
So she was, she got whatever, and it was such a big deal to her that we all, and our family's very close. And so we were all really rooting for her and like to watch her like plan for the day. And the parents went out and they decorated her because she got it for Christmas, but the tour wasn't until like July.
You know
what I mean? So like
I know.
Like over the course of those 6 months, they were like buying her albums and like they decorated her room. They had her like a pre-party and all these things. So it was really fun.
Cute.
So in that fashion, I am a Swiftie.
Love that.
In that
love
way,
that for you. Love that.
And the
for
1989 album was really great. Is that
it's
what 89?
That's my husband's favorite album. He's always like, she peaked at 1989.
Banger album.
It is. It's good. She's good all the time though.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
Yeah. So, always being fun as a Swiftie, and I like all the Swiftie drama too. Like,
isn't it great?
Because I hate football. Like, I don't watch sports at all. But like, with the Swiftie football drama on this, I was like, I fucking tune into this.
They booed
I'm a TMZ whore.
They booed her.
Well, yeah. I mean, you can't be, again, reality matters, and football's basically a bunch of fucking Neanderthals, like it always has been. And
it's true.
Neanderthals are going to act like Neanderthals. Like, you can't, just because you've like introduced pink t-shirts in the NFL and you've shown the public that they're like, go to a fucking football game. There's not really that many chicks there. Like, I know that they want to like make you think that they're like gaslighting you and to think that like women really love it, but like the women are still just tolerating of it. Like, you could say it all day that women love sports, but that's not the case. Like, there's few that are like, there are some that are really into it, but there's a lot of them that are just there for the fucking beer can chicken and the the ribs. I'm one of those women.
Fully.
I'm one of those girls. Like, I hate the game, but I will fucking tailgate. I want all the accoutrements. Like, I want to eat. I want to do all the foods, and I want to make it. I want to pretend like I care. Like, I want to be like, whatever. Move the goals. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I'm that way too. So we're speaking the same language here.
I get you.
But no, if you go as a cop, if you try to get help, and let's just say you do let it out. Like, let's say in my book, I think that's why my book is is why everybody is drawn to the book so far that it is, and why it's doing the things it is, because I really do paint that picture of the emotional damage. So it's very funny, it's very dark humored, but then towards the late middle of the book, you know, you could see the toll that it's taking on my life and those around me life. So some of these characters that you're really, really close to, you can see the dark turns that they take. And in the book, you can empathize with it because you saw the buildup. But as a civilian, you never see it. All you see is the end. All you see is the drunken disgustingness, but you don't see what led him to that, right?
Yeah.
And the problem is and so when luckily I had reading, and I wrote one chapter in the book that we took out of the book. And that chapter, because even the editor says it's just too dark and there's no coming back from that, and you can't go funny again after that chapter. And it's because it's like really late at night while writing, like everybody was sleeping in my household, and it all hit me, like all of the, you know, I had gotten to the point in my career where it was all the death and it was just amounting, and you'll see it in the book still, where it was just like one person after the other was just dying, and everything that I tried to do right, people were dying because of it. For instance, I gave one man a ride to he was drunk and disorderly, but I didn't want to arrest him, and I didn't want to take him to the hospital because the hospital was already tied up with a whole bunch of bullshit. It was a really busy Friday night, and it was in the like Christmas holiday season, so just this shit was going bad. So I was like, I'm going to take this guy to a really lit city park that he's actually allowed to be at, and he's got cell phone service, and there's cops in and out of here constantly, so he can sober up here. And I thought, you know, he left, got hit by a car, and died. And then, and it was really tragic. And then right after that, I'm holding on to another guy's stomach, and I say, I'll be right back. I'm going to go, because we're down in the woods. I'm going to go get the ambulance, and I'm running back. And I get to the ambulance, and we get back, and he's already dead. You know, and so I was just with him. I was just talking, and we were just having a conversation. And there was like 4 more. I'm not going to give away the whole book, but it was like in the span of like 2 weeks, it was just like everybody was fucking dying, and it was like nothing I could do. One guy got shot in the leg, and I drove his mom to the hospital. We're having this conversation about Thanksgiving and what they're planning on and what Christmas present she got him and everything, because I thought he just got shot in the leg. No big deal. He'd actually been shot in an artery, and he had bled out to death. And by the time we got the present, and now he's dead. And I'm like, fuck. And so it was just this very dark period. And so I'm sitting on my couch, and I'm writing in my memoirs. I'm writing as these things happen, because that's the way my book is written. It was all written in real time. And all of a sudden, like I'm writing these chapters down, I couldn't hold it anymore. And so I was like a bottle of wine deep, and it just went dark. And I was like melted on the couch. I couldn't stop. I couldn't breathe. I was having a panic attack, and there was nobody awake in my house. Like everybody was sleeping. I'm not going to go wake my wife up with this shit, because like it was, but I literally, I had to walk outside because I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know if I was going to have a heart attack. I didn't know, but I knew if I called 911, instead of having a panic attack, I'm having a heart attack, but my career's done. They're not going to let me come back to work. If I wake my wife up, she's going to call 911. My career's over. It's going to, and then of course I'm going to have to deal with my wife thinking that like I'm fucking crazy or something like that. And so I went outside, and I sprinted. I sprinted as far as I could, and as long as I could. I said, I'm going to sprint until I die, because I would rather die than have to deal with this. And I ran as hard as I possibly could, until my body just stopped. It couldn't run any further, and I vomited, and it was all red wine, just vomiting. By the way, I was in like basically my underwear. I was in like very short shorts, like bedtime shorts. And I'm sprinting, drunk as fuck, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, down the road, you know, and I live out in the middle of the country, in the middle of nowhere. So I knew there wasn't going to be anybody out there, but you know, and then I end up just vomiting everywhere, and all this red wine and everything. And I said right there, like I'm hunched over in the road, and I had a conversation with myself, and I put this in the book. The chapter's been taken out, it doesn't exist, but I had said in that moment, that's it. It's gone. You're done. It's over. You got rid of it. Be a father, be a husband. And don't fucking remember any of those things. We're not going to have this happen again. It's done. You've left it all out here on the road. And so for me, in that moment, I said, this is what I said. I'm walking back, and I don't know how far I sprinted. Maybe it was a half a mile. I don't remember. And I'm walking back, to the house. And I remember saying in my internal dialogue, I said, for now on, I'm going to work so hard that my demons are too tired to fuck with me. I'm going to work so hard at everything. I'm never going to stop working, and my demons will be too tired to fuck with me. And I'm not going to lose sleep or ever. I'll work so hard that I have no choice but to sleep and crash, because that sprint, I sprinted out. I was too tired to worry about anything else. Like I sprinted, and I was so tired that I just started vomiting, and that's what made me feel better. So now I work out, I run, and I always try to stay busy. And still my internal question. I've never really shared that with anybody, but that is my secret. That's what I do. I say I'll work so hard that my demons are too tired to fuck with me.
That's what they say. I mean, to a lesser degree, they say exercise is really good for things like that, because it does, it keeps your mind busy, it keeps your body busy, and then the endorphins and everything.
Yeah.
But that's
there is no way out. There is no safe place for cops. And I say it's even worse as dispatchers.
Yeah.
Because dispatchers, and what I've learned through John and being friends with Jonathan Bates, who's a producer on the show, they never get closure. So they get the 911 call of you screaming, and then you hang up when the cops get there. They never get to know what happened. They don't know if they rescued you. They don't know if you died. They don't know if you lived. They don't know if the bad guy got arrested. They know nothing. They just go on to the next 911 call, and they covered multiple counties.
Yeah.
So a dispatcher will take 40 or 50 of these calls before lunch. And it's, my husband's having a heart attack. See, a cop doesn't hear that.
No.
Because if I'm not going to the heart attack, I don't hear it. But
Yeah.
the dispatcher heard it. The dispatcher heard the house on fire. The dispatcher heard that I just walked in my son's room and he's committed suicide. I'm dying of the flu. Whatever the call is, that dispatcher heard all of it, and he never gets to have closure. And there's no help for him or her.
There should be.
But
I don't know what it would be, but
because there's too much liability. If you add help, there's too much liability.
Yeah.
Because now you're the doctor, and I've told you that shit's getting dark and I'm having panic attacks. You have to tell somebody that I'm having panic attacks. You have to tell somebody that I said the word shit's getting dark for me.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of like helping me work through this,
Yeah.
you're now liable. And
Yeah.
I understand that. You can't be, it's the same recycling. You can't be held responsible for me going out and killing somebody and being civilly sued. Well, they told you. They told you they were in this fucking dark place, and now you got. So that's why there just cannot be help. It's just you either can do the job or you can't. And that is why it is important that you are shamed. That is why locker room harassment is so important. If you don't have the thick skin to either learn, and if you read my book, the whole first chapter is me on the verge. The first 5 chapters are me on the verge of quitting because I cannot do anything right. And they are shaming the fuck out of me. I lose a foot chase. They spray paint the shoe gold. They hang it on the wall and they make me sign it in front of everybody. Somebody dies. They call me the Grim Reaper. And the first 5 chapters of me as a rookie and Santana being my training officer is all about me having emotional episodes, trying to quit, saying I'm not cut out for this job. And then these guys roasting me relentlessly, trying to make me quit. And it wasn't until I'm at the brink of breakdown that all of them invite me to dinner, and it's in the book, and they take me to Hibachi 88 and they tell me how much of a fuck up I am. And then they give me options. They say, you can either fucking fix yourself or we will make you quit. We will make this job so goddamn miserable that you will fucking, but you do not get to carry on doing the same dumb shit that you keep doing. You don't get to have fucking excuses for everything. Yeah. You can either figure this job out or you can fuck right off. Now, we have another officer that Santana and I know who sued that same district for workplace hostile environment. And he won. And he now owns an airport.
Wow.
I can't say too much because I don't want to get sued. But the point is that it's different. It's a different job.
Yeah.
And if there's not shaming and harassment that you can't figure out how to deal with, then you will commit suicide in 5 years. You'll be a dead cop. What's more important, that we shame you now and you live forever, or we let it go and blow smoke up your ass and you commit suicide 5 years down the road? Because I think it was Cameron, and I believe it was Cameron's rookie that shot himself in the head in the locker room. Santana brothers, Brooks, just say yay or nay. Was that you? That your rookie shot himself with his duty gun in the locker room? Say yes or no in the chats there. Cameron, Santana. I'm pretty sure it was his rookie. So that's probably good insight onto why training officers, at least why I trained my rookies, in that same way. You have to be mentally stronger than everybody else.
Yeah.
Or I'm doing you a disservice. And it's just the rule of the job. And whether civilians want to accept that or they don't, the reality is if we don't do things this way, then the sheep will never, ever be safe. And what we have right now going on in the country is the sheep aren't safe.
Yeah.
And the FBI, and I covered this in the news, and that's why I do the news, and I think it's so important. But the FBI during the Biden administration came out with the FBI statistics. However, out of the 49 cities that they included in the survey, only 12 of those cities participated in the survey. And those 12 cities were the most liberal Democrat cities. And they all said that the crime rate was down. And then when we look further into the outside polls that were not done by those cities, crime rate had risen almost nearly 70% in some of these townships, but they were redirecting the styles of calls of crime because it was a voluntary survey done by the FBI. And so, again, because politics is poisoning the profession, if we're not willing to look at the root cause of the problem, then we can never fix the problem. And what we have is systemic problems in a spot because we want to be fair or we want to be kind. And at the end of the day, you said it, there are bad people and there are good people. And then there are two thoughts. There are the bleeding hearts that look at why they were bad and we make excuses, or there's the people that say, unfortunately, it sucks that you had this upbringing. And what we could do together, left and right, big city, and what we could do is we could say, like what we did with the Daniel Penny case, and this is why I cover the Daniel Penny case the way I did, is we just tell the real story. The real story is that Daniel Penny killed a black man that wasn't a magician. That's not true. He was not a magician. And he was not just some poor homeless guy that was off his man. What the real story is that at 12 years old, his mother was found dead in a suitcase on the Manhattan Bridge, and it made news all over the country. And so this boy at 12 years old, his mother was dating a man who he did not like. And it was more of like a stepfather figure, if I can remember correctly. And we did a whole breakdown on this, but it was years ago. And so then his mother ends up murdered by this man and left cut up in pieces on the Brooklyn Bridge. And he saw this and he was forced to go live with his grandparents at the age of 13. Well, then he started running the streets because he lived in the inner city of New York. I think it was like Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And so he started running around with a bad crowd. And I'll tell you right now, there's a white side and a dark side. We saw it in Star Wars, right? The light side and the dark side, right? And you could choose. And I'm telling you right now, if you cut my mother up and leave her on the bridge, I'm choosing the dark side.
Yeah.
Fuck the world, fuck God, fuck religion. I'm going to be a piece of shit. But if I die because of that, well, that was my choice. Now, Daniel Penny on the other side did 4 years in the Marine Corps and moved up in the ranks very quickly because he was a good Marine. He wasn't just any Marine. He was a combat infantryman Marine. These are your most disgusting human beings on the planet. There's a reason why all their shit stays on an island, because these are dogs that they have to keep on a leash, because they're the ones at the end of the day that are going to keep the Chinese from fucking coming over here and making you, speak Chinese or whatever, right? I want my Marines to be a little rapey, a little war crimey. I want these guys to be a little bit disgusting because at the end of the day, they're the ones that are going to fucking kill people that are going to do it. And so that's why they keep the Marines on a leash. The 0311s are the darkest of the dark. These are your killers. These are your warriors. But Daniel Penny, being in that environment, Allie said, I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy. I am too much of a lover. I'm not the killer they want me to be.
Yeah.
And so he gets out in 4 years, even though he's progressing and he's doing really well and he's playing by all the rules, he internally cannot bring himself to being this warrior that they want him to be. And so he gets out and he goes to, I think it was Peru, if I remember correctly, and he does one of these ayahuasca religious trips to find himself, this journey. And he goes and he travels around all of South America trying to find himself. And he becomes a hippie. He's got really long curly hair. And he decides that he's going to leave Tejas, Texas, and go to New York and become some kind of an engineer. Now, the reason why he joined the Marine Corps was because he was a captain of his lacrosse team and he went through a full scholarship playing lacrosse. So he was an athlete. But guess what? There's no professional lacrosse player. So he does all of this. He spends all of his energy. He lives and dies by athletics and team sports. And he goes through college based on this, and that's his whole life. And then he said, well, that's it for you. You're done. There's no professional lacrosse. So now you have to go into the real world. And he was like, no, I need to join a team. And that's why he joined the Marine Corps in the first place. But then that wasn't the team that that's not what he wanted. That's not what he was looking for. And so now he's a lost soul and he joins this ayahuasca trip and he becomes kind of almost like a pacifist and he goes to New York. And within just a couple of days of being in New York, he gets on the subway, which is a huge culture shock from where he just came from. And now he's got this angry black man whose mother was murdered and killed. And his life has just been completely dark since he was 13 years old. And he's committed tons of heinous crimes because he's lived a life on the streets. And this man is yelling in an innocent woman's face that he's going to fucking kill her if he can't get some food. And this Marine knows two things. He has a moral and ethical dilemma. He has an internal dilemma of, do I act because I'm a man of action. I am at the end of the day a Marine. I am an athlete, but I am also this man of peace, that I'm trying to seek peace. But now I'm stuck in this time continuum. And here I have a woman that needs to be protected, but I have this man who's obviously acting crazy and I don't know what to do. And so he puts the guy in a restraining hold, but we know that what's causing this is fentanyl. And what did I tell you at the beginning of the show is what often happens when somebody's on fentanyl, an excited delirium where their heart finally explodes. It happens every single time. It happened to George Floyd. It happened to this. It happens every single day. We all know as cops and EMS that when you're on fentanyl, there's like two things that can happen. One, you go crazy and you fight really hard or and you die because your heart explodes, or you just pass right the fuck out and somebody Narcans you. But that's it. There's no gray area. There's no other areas to go. And so this guy dies of fentanyl overdose, not because Daniel Penny was choking him. He wasn't.
Yeah.
I go to jiu-jitsu 5 days a week. I get choked out constantly. You don't die from being that kind of choked out. He died because his heart exploded. But now we've made the right-wing media has made this guy to just be some scumbag, homeless piece of shit black guy. And then the left has made this Marine killer white guy that's racist. But if we know the whole story, we can now empathize and just say, that's a really shitty situation for everyone.
That's it.
That's just a shitty situation for everybody. And it sucks to have it. It sucks that his mother had to be murdered and that there was no other life for him to choose but this. But at the end of the day, he chose that life.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, Daniel Penny. So I don't think Daniel Penny goes to jail, but I don't think Daniel Penny's a bad person. And I don't necessarily think that we degrade and call him disgusting names either. The guy that he killed, and I forget his name now, either. I think we just tell the whole story and then all of us together just say, fuck. But no, we don't. The media says that he's a good person and that he's a great person. And the other side of the media says that, Daniel Penny's a hero and he's patriotic because he killed this black man on a subway. And so now you have both these heads left and right being like, you're all racist, you're all Nazis. And like, at the end of the day, if we all just knew the truth, which is what we do on this show, we would all just go, fuck.
Yeah, exactly.
That sucks. And we'd move on.
Exactly. Well, and I feel like a lot of times people do like to, weaponize some of this stuff.
That's it.
Fit their own narrative, and that's kind of the major problem.
And that's the mainstream media. And that's why we started FAWKS News on this, because we tell you what the mainstream media says, and then we tell you what the truth is on both sides. We say where everybody is lying and their hyperbolicness. And right now, the right is doing exactly what we accuse the left of doing. What I preached for the whole Biden administration about weaponizing the DOJ, the right is now doing the same thing. And I say on the show, if it's not good, it's not going to work out for anybody. I said it was shitty when they did it, and now the right's doing it, and so we're going to hold the right accountable for doing it. At the end of the day, weaponizing the Department of Justice is never a good idea. There's no real justice, and I think it was Malcolm X said, the smallest injustice is injustice to everyone, or something like that. What was I don't remember.
I don't know the quote, but
it's a very famous quote. But it was basically the failure of justice in one is an injustice to all. And what he means by that is, like, if you are unjust once to one person, it sets the tone for the next person to be served injustice. It's a great quote, but sorry that I didn't memorize it. I wasn't planning on going there 2 hours and 60 minutes into the show. Guys, this has been an awesome show. Go and check out Ali Siebert. Really fun. The longest show ever, and the first time we've had a civilian on. But boy, we had everybody in the chats: Tyler S, Nightkin, Katie K, Brian W, Cupcakes and Cameos out here to see us. I saw I know I saw Abby Ellsworth up in here. Lazaro Lopez, good to see you guys. So we appreciate all of you for being in the live chats. You were very quiet today. Greg LaMontagne from the Bar is Open with Beth and Greg podcast. Good to see you guys in here. We love you guys. We love your show. All the TMZ. If you want the Taylor Swifty news, head over to the Bar is Open with Beth and Greg. Great little podcast to get all your fun and flirty news. Will Cray, who's been a member for 32 months, a paid member for 32 months on our YouTube.
Wow.
That's quite the accomplishment. Folker said she survived Transy. Impressive. By the way, I had long hair and everybody called me Transy instead of Tansy because I was a little bit
really really terrible, actually.
Called me Transy because I had long hair.
It's a choice. I'd love to see pictures of the long hair though.
But now, and then they paid me, what was it, like $1,200 to get a mullet? The super chats paid for me to get a haircut, and then they got to. I said, if you guys send $1,000 in super chats, I'll cut my hair however you want. And then they all just started like bing, 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 and it got up to like it was like $900, and then I tried to hit the cancel because I was tired of it, and went all the way to like $1,200, and they voted for a fucking mullet. So I had a mullet for years. I still have partially a mullet.
Oh, that's
but I had
funny.
I had a mullet for like 2 or 3 years. Yeah.
Jeez.
And then another time they had me take my shirt off for one of the episodes. It was our 100th episode, 400th, 200th. I don't remember. One of our 100th episodes. And they were like super chatting me to draw stuff with a magic marker on my body. And so they were like, draw a penis on your face. And I'm like, oh, fuck. And they would like super chat money. And they were like, draw, this on your neck. And I would like draw shit. And so at the end of the day, I had like mustache and a monocle and a penis. And
I just watched a Black Mirror episode like this.
Really? There's an episode of Black Mirror like this. Wow.
Well,
what did they do? Anything real sketch?
Yeah.
That show could be fucked up.
Yeah. I've only because it's the first episode of the newest season, and I've only watched the first episode because it fucked with me so much. But he I don't know, drank his own pee and punched out his own teeth and shit. Yeah. God. Oh, it was terrible. And it wasn't even about that. Like the whole overarching was something different, but good God.
Well, we donate all that money to some kind of a charity, so that's why we did it. Not just for like social media fame. We donated to some veterans organization, or I can't remember. I don't remember what we did it for on that case because we've done it a few times. But we have the best fans, and we love all you guys. And we guys, thank you so much. Show them how good of fans you guys all are. Audio listeners, a lot of cops, they don't have social media and stuff like that. But if you do get a chance, go listen to Santana True Crime. And of course, get this book and check out Abby's new podcast that she's working very hard on called Allie in the Archives. I got the visual of it. I also put that on the Failure to Stop Instagram. I'll put the same visual up there so you guys can all find it. And then Santana True Crime. Guys, you guys have been asking for real true crime by somebody who's not just an idiot, a brain dead hot bimbo with big titties. All you cops have asked for real true crime. Here is an opportunity to give you real true crime where she's not just some kind of, you know what I mean? Like she's not just selling her looks. She's actually giving real historical accurate information. So don't be a putz and not support it. You've asked for it. I mean, and now we're trying to bring it to you.
I'll still look cute while I'm doing it.
Yes.
But
But
it will
not
also
just
be
that,
factual,
right?
correct.
It's not just like a Pamela Anderson effect. Where it's like after the fact, you're like, Jesus.
My first episode comes out Thursday. So
yes, and she's very like politically correct and stuff like that. There's nothing offensive, so you can listen to it with as a family. It's not like one of those things you have to like warn people where you're like, hey, there's no telling what this guy might say. So
it's just nice.
It's perfect. It's actually the perfect blend. So you guys have all asked for it. Now you have to support it. You can't ask for it and then just like say like, oh, true crime sucks because they're all the same. I'm telling you it's not the same. Give it a shot. Allie in the Archives and Santana True Crime. You asked, you shall receive. Go buy the book. It's called Bloodstained. Bloodstained. You can find it on Amazon or wherever you want to find your books. You're a detective. Figure it out. Until next time, guys, guns up. Giddy up. Take us out of here, Joshua.